Welcome to Pinellas County Schools TV here on Channel 14 and YouTube. My name is Eric Keaton. Our team has great news. Thanks to Spectrum, we have received hundreds of videos featuring Pinellas County athletic events dating back to the 1980s and 90s. They are classic high school football, basketball, baseball games, and more, showcasing some of Pinellas County's greatest alumni and contests. Visit our website to see what games will be on the schedule, and we will ask for the community's input on social media to find out which game you would like to see in October. So tune in, subscribe to PCS TV on YouTube, and we'll see you on the classic Game of the Week.
Only 4 miles separates Northeast and St. Pete, but the Vikings and Green Devils are on different paths in 2009. St. Pete has their sights set on a postseason run, while the Vikings can keep their playoff hopes alive with an upset against their longtime arch rival. It's an old school Pinellas County showdown on the Bright House Sports Network. Game of the Week. It is a rivalry Friday night at St. Pete High School. The Green Devils, all decked out in black, hosting the Northeast Vikings on the Bright House Sports Network. Game of the Week. Good evening, everybody. Great to have you with us. I'm Drew Felios. We've had some great rivalry games this year on the Game of the Week in Northeast St. Pete. Just another edition. This game not only for bragging rights, but a critical game in Class 5A District 9. Now, this is how the district stacks up. Pinellas Park and Gibbs both unbeaten in their district, but those two teams play tonight. One of them is going to come out with a loss. St. Pete, if they win tonight and win next week, the Green Devils almost ensured a playoff berth. Let's bring in my partner now, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, 15-year veteran in the NFL. He is Mark Royals. And Mark, when you look at these two teams, you start with the head coaches. Jay Austin of Northeast, Joe Fabrizio of St. Pete. Size up where they are right now with their programs.
Well, they're very young in their respective careers with their schools, and I think they both feel like they're headed in the right direction. Depending on which coach you talk to, the rivalry that you mentioned earlier, whether it's either alive or not, Joe Fabrizio certainly thinks it's alive and well. On the other side, Jay Austin kind of downplayed it, like it's changed over the years. But the bottom line is I think they both feel like they've got their schools heading in the direction they want them to go.
You know, when you talk about Northeast High School, immediately the great running backs of the past come to mind. Jeff Brinson, Tim Tisdale, Jarrez Wynn. They've got another one this year by the name of Daryl Copeland.
Yeah, Daryl Copeland is a guy, when you look at, he's a little undersized, but you look at his numbers on the year, he's been very productive. A guy that's very strong in his lower body, not particularly a great pass catcher, but they will rely on him heavily in the run. So on offense, Daryl Copeland will be their main guy.
If you want the epitome of a student athlete, you're going to see him tonight. We can talk this entire broadcast about number 44, Ben Sams.
Yeah, when you talk about Ben Sams and the coaches, they rave about him and how smart he is off the field, carrying a 4.4 GPA, likely going to go to college to be an engineer. And he's a guy that the likes of Harvard and Yale and Princeton, UCF comes to mind. He's a guy that would probably go to college based on his academics.
And you know, Mark, this St. Pete team, they don't have any mega stars, not any big Division I guys, but the closest thing to that may be defensive back Dondre Davis.
Dondre Davis, when you talk about him, the coaches, first of all, would say he is the real deal. He's a guy that's a very instinctive player. He's always around the ball, very effective returning the ball as a kick returner as well. So offensively, Dondre Davis will be the guy to look for.
Two old school offenses tonight as well. Northeast taking on St. Pete, the battle for 5A District 9. We've got the call, the kickoff. Coming up next on the Bright House Sports Network, Game of the Week. Well, we are set to go on a Friday night. St. Pete taking on Northeast. The Green Devils ranked number 11 in our BHSN poll. It is October 30th, but Mark Royals, it feels like August 30th down on the field.
Yeah, it's been really hot the last couple of days, and we're trying to get cooled off here as this game's underway.
So the kickoff fielded in the end zone, and that will be a touchback. Northeast will start at the 20-yard line, and we will take a look at the storylines tonight. The full 48 minutes. You mentioned this in the open, Mark. Northeast has yet to really play an entire game the way they want to. The three-headed monster, St. Pete, with their running backs. They are devastating and going deep. We're going to see athletic wide receivers against playmaking cornerbacks. All three of those factoring huge tonight.
Yeah, Northeast is starting off the game, and that's what they have preached all week, is they've got to figure out a way to come out fast and play consistent throughout the whole game. They've not done that all year. It's created the inconsistencies in their record. And St. Pete certainly feel like they're on their way to the playoff.
So Northeast will run the football on first down. Not much doing. That's a loss of a half yard. There you see the speed of that St. Pete defense getting to the football. And on the tackle was Hunter Thomason. As we take a look at Eli Pedigo, the quarterback for Northeast, a sophomore getting to start tonight. Did not expect to start at quarterback, Mark, coming into this year, but they had to make the adjustment, and so far so good for number 11.
Yeah, he's done quite well, and I think as the season has progressed and he's consistently gotten better, and he stopped making the same mistakes over and over again. He's a big kid, 6'3", 210 pounds, so he's got that good frame to eventually grow into, only being a sophomore.
So second down and 10, rolling to his right. Pedigo, incomplete, was looking past the 30-yard line and could not hit his receiver. Was looking for Kyle Hamill out there. Let's take a look at this Northeast offense. There you see Daryl Copeland, the player we talked about in the open. You got Dominic Ellis, Kyle Hamill, Hank White, an athletic wide receiver, along with Pete Tirana, the tight end, who is hoping to get on the field tonight. There's the offensive line: Philip Moore, Robert Michaels, Sean Ledesma, Nick St. Clair, and Billy Davis. And the offensive line, an area that Coach Jay Austin really wants to improve the play up front of his troops so far.
Yeah, he knows consistency there is going to allow for that three-headed monster you talked about to be effective, so they've got to be more consistent up front.
So the second pass is complete at the 32-yard line. Catch made by Ansoir Wright, and it will be good for a Northeast first down.
Yeah, to get that initial first down, they talked about it all week, having to keep their offense on the field and be productive, not only out of the blocks, but consistently all game. And they get the initial first down to get that offense going in the direction they want, get a little momentum to start this game off.
Mark, we've already seen more passes from Northeast in one drive than we have sometimes in an entire game.
Yeah, they talk about you're not going to see it thrown that often. The coaches joked about it, probably one of the quicker games we do. Both teams like to run the football, but when they do pass, they've got to be effective, and they certainly were there.
Pego, pass blocked. That could be a backward pass, and let's see. Referees do call it incomplete. So it was a forward pass, and we'll have a second down and 10 coming up.
Yeah, good play there by number 5 defensively, and Cody Pogarel, and that's what you're taught on the defensive end, that if you're not going to make a sack, you find the quarterback's eyes and get your hands up and knock the ball down. It's precisely what he did.
So Eli Pedigo, mentioned, did not expect to be the starter at quarterback, was an outstanding athlete when you watch him in warm-ups. He's supposed to play tight end or defensive end, and it hasn't even grown into his body. They expect him to grow a few more inches in the offseason next year and the following year. And here he is again, rolling to his right. Pedigo will take off, and he'll be knocked out of bounds after picking up 3 yards. They call him out at the 36-yard line. The defense for St. Pete: Rashid Mizell, Dominic James, Hunter Thomason, and Greg Thomas up front. James's quarterback pressures leads the unit. There's the linebackers: Cody Pogarel with Jamon Myrick and Nick Butler. A fast group they are. And there's where the speediest athletes are in the secondary: Davis, Simmons, Livargo, and Stevie Murph. Murph played offense most of last year. He's moved over into the secondary, and he has really found his home as you get a look at Cody Pogarel, number 5 for St. Pete. And a critical third down now coming up. Third down and 8 as a flag goes down on the field.
Yeah, when you look at their quarterback there and Eli Pedigo, just watching him as we check the penalty.
Delay a game. Offense. Third down.
Coaches will talk about that all week. The penalties, we'll get into that as this game goes on in turnovers. But Eli Pedigo, he's a guy that's kind of working his way into the position. Sort of an awkward guy. He's not very flashy, not a very smooth runner, but the coaches said they like the way he's maturing and the fact that even though he doesn't look flashy, he still gets the job done, and that's what you want at the quarterback position.
Very good size, though, when you look at him and you see he's just a sophomore. Impressive.
Not sure if he's going to be the quarterback of the future or not. They got a young kid, Armando Sanchez, they really like on the JV.
Pedigo gets it away, and it's going to be stopped short of a first down. Good pursuit by that St. Pete defense, and Derek Ramsberg, number 28, made the tackle at the 35-yard line. So it'll be 4th down, and the punting crew comes on for the Vikings.
That's something to keep an eye on all night when you talk about special teams in Northeast. We talked about their punter and their kicker, and the coach had less than positive things to say about that. On the flip side, I think St. Pete feels like that's one of the strengths of their team.
So here's the kick, and it's going to be fielded by Dondre Davis. He is exciting when he has the football in his hands. Davis gets it up near midfield, and that's where the Green Devils will start. Joe Fabrizio, 4th season as St. Pete head coach, and man, he is making some waves. Did not really know what to expect when he came here to St. Pete, and I'll say this, in his 4 years, he is building one of the great programs in Pinellas County.
Well, the first question he was asked, can you beat Northeast? And that went a long way in the hire. And when you talk to him, he made no excuses about the one loss that they had to Gibbs. They didn't play well enough to win. They turned the ball over, I think, on 4 consecutive downs. But when you sit there and talk to him, he's very confident about his football team, not only that they're going to make the playoffs, but that they can make some noise once they get there.
Well, Robert Simmons for Northeast stopping the run on 1st down, only picked up 1 yard, 2nd down and 9 coming up. As we get a look at David Jones, the quarterback for St. Pete. He is also a sophomore and point guard on the basketball team. Fabrizio says he plays his quarterback position like he is a point guard and playing basketball. A field general he is. As Rashad Lewis gets the carry on 2nd down, a pickup of 2, 3rd down and 6 coming up.
Yeah, and coach feels like that he's a pretty mature kid for a sophomore. And as you mentioned, playing point guard, it's a guy that sees the court, he sees the field, a guy that can make good decisions. You know, they put without much experience, there's a lot on his shoulders, and he just has a knack for slowing things down. They give him more control over the offense each week, and he's starting to make audibles at the line of scrimmage, checkdowns and things like that. So you can see his maturity.
So 3rd down and 6. Jones, play fake. Got a man open and hits him for a 1st down. It is caught by his favorite target. That is Marquell Davis, who moves the chains on 3rd down and long. As we'll take a look at this St. Pete offense, Ben Sams, the player we talked about in the open. Malik Wilson is the leading rusher. Lewis, Davis, and Watkins are the skill players. Up front, there's the offensive line. Not much experience, but these guys are getting better with each game. The one who grades out the best, Talon Colbrith, number 70. First down and 10. Jones hands it off. And it's Ben Sams dragging tacklers all the way to the 35-yard line. And that's the guy that Fabrizio looks for to get the tough yards.
Oh, he loves this guy, and you know he's close to 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, and you see 5.8 a play, but he's like a momentum changer. They feel like he really likes the contact, and he likes to try to run over people. He finishes his runs with big hits and gets the whole team excited, and he's a guy that's very unselfish. We talked about his GPA off the field, and he'll probably get that academic scholarship, but they just rave about him when his name is brought up.
So here's Jones, got some room to run, and he'll take off. Jones inside the 20, down at the 11-yard line.
And David Jones, a guy, when you talk about being able to make plays, that's what he does. He makes good decisions, and when he makes those decisions, he takes what's available. It's a little rollout here. He's looking for his receivers down the field. He realizes he's got some room. There's nobody open. He takes his time and reads his blocks and gets down the field, shifty enough to make a couple people miss. But that's what they like about his maturity and his decision-making. It's gotten better as the years progressed.
He's thrown 4 TD passes so far this year, 18 of 34 passing. There you got a sample of his legs. And the running play in for the touchdown is Rashad Lewis.
A great drive, opening drive by St. Pete. They feel very confident in where this team is and their offense. Rashad Lewis, you see that, over 7.5 yards. and they like him. He's just a speed runner, very smooth. And when you talk about him, it's just say he's a great athlete. He can do a lot of things well, and you can see he sees the hole. Great blocking up front by that offensive line, and a nice patient run to get it in the end zone.
So the Green Devils come on for the extra point. And it's Devin Papandrew to do the honors. He splits the uprights just underway. Here in Green Devils country, St. Pete has taken a 7-0 lead. You're watching the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week. Well, Drew Felios, Mark Royals, and Dave Reynolds, the St. Pete Green Devils behind the running of Rashad Lewis right there. Take it right down the field and score a touchdown on their first offensive series. And it is 7-0 right now as St. Pete and Devin Papandrew about to kick off to Northeast. Fielded at the 1-yard line. Here come the Vikings. On the return, it's Darryl Copeland, and the ball came out. Who's got it? Northeast.
I think they're going to call that one down. Looks like he was on his back, and the ball came out late. So
let's take a look at the series history of these two teams. Last 7 meetings, to be exact. Northeast controlling the rivalry in the early part of the century. And St. Pete won 2 in a row, 03, 04. Vikings again took over in those Jeff Brinson years, and St. Pete got him back last year, 34-7. But it's kind of been back and forth over the years, Mark.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear the two coaches talk about whether that rivalry still exists, and Joe Fabrizio certainly felt like it did. Jay Austin downplayed it and said it's changed over the years. So depending on which side you're on, it's either on full speed or has kind of died out.
Well, run that time by Tavares Dunlap, and let's send it down on the field to our Dave Reynolds, who has a story on a key player for Northeast not in the lineup tonight.
That's right, guys. Pete Tirana, they're all everything, plays defensive end, great tight end as well. Not on the field during that last touchdown drive, may not play at all tonight. I'll have follow up on that in just a minute. The St. Pete coaching staff made note of that. We saw the touchdown by Lewis, and also the big run before that went right through where Mr. Tirana would have been.
Yep. Good point. Tirana, an exceptional player.
Yeah, and they really expect their defensive ends to pinch that ball inside and not let those running backs get outside and have the free reign. And he's the all-world, whatever you want to say. He's a great player, and they certainly miss him. But, you know, with that bad ankle, he's not able to play. So you see him sitting there on the sideline. I think you spoke to him before, and just not 100%.
Yeah, Pete Tirana with those ankles heavily taped, and a tough break for the senior. Got hurt, Mark, in the Clearwater game when he got rolled up on, and those ankles have not been the same since. Still trying to get back to 100%. On the rollout, Pedigo throws it incomplete. And you can see a little bit of the inconsistency that Jay Austin is trying to deal with this Northeast offense. Coach Austin, once recruited by Steve Spurrier in the Florida Gators, Mark.
How about that, yeah. Yeah, he was very interesting to talk to. You can tell he's a no-nonsense guy, and you can see the frustration on his face with the inability of his team to play for 4 quarters. As you look at his record there, 15-13, he feels like that he's got no superstars on his football team, but as a team they gel and play very well together. They just don't do it for a full football game.
Played for Spurrier and the University of Florida briefly, then went to Louisville and finished up his college career at Monticello in Arkansas. On the return, Davis shaking and baking up to the 47-yard line. Andre Davis, impressive on the return so far. And tell you what, this St. Pete team, Mark, the guys aren't very big, but they've got very strong lower bodies. They don't go down easy.
Yeah, they spent some time in the weight room, and Andre Davis there, we talked about him. He's a very shifty guy, so he does a good job, first of all, of not letting the ball continue to roll and give up that hidden yardage. And once he gets the ball in his hands, he's very dynamic. He's got enough speed to get around the corner, shifty enough to make people miss. So very dangerous guy when the ball's in his hands.
So David Jones takes over, hands off to Malik Wilson, and the top running back for the Green Devils has 4 yards on first down. And we'll take a look at this Northeast defense. Tavares Dunlap with Trez Jones. Sam Hester is a spark plug right in the middle. Robert Simmons and Pete Tirana, who we just talked about, probably not going to play tonight. Kyle Hamill does his job better than anybody else. Tim Ashman, also a linebacker. And in the secondary, Hank White, so athletic, with Antonio Aponte, Eric Reyes, and Answar Wright. So 2nd down and 5. It's Ben Sams running forward, and that downhill running from Sams. I saw this when we saw him last year, Mark, in an opening game against Robinson, okay, with Jeff Carlson, who said he kind of reminds you of not a 44, but a number 40 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, he's cut out of that mold. He's kind of an old school throwback type kid, and he likes to get the ball up the field. He's not gifted with enough speed to get to the edge very often, but he's going to run it very hard for you up between the tackles. He's not going to shy away from contact, and again, he gives his team a big lift by his physical nature.
3rd down, less than a yard, and it's Malik Wilson. Wilson getting to the outside. He's got no problem getting to the edge, and he's down to the 27-yard line.
Yeah, you talk about a downhill runner. That's exactly what Malik Wilson is. He's got enough speed to get on the edge there in the corner, and you can see he's not going to try to make you miss too much, and if you get in his path, he's going to run you over. And they just feel like he's a very smooth running, and almost 700 yards and over 8 yards a carry. You see the 9 touchdowns there. He's good, very good, as you saw there, is cutting back if he has to, but if he can't do that, he's just going to run you over.
So after the run by Wilson, Northeast wants to talk this over. The Vikings cannot get down 2 touchdowns on the road. It's going to be awfully tough for them to play uphill like that, especially because they're kind of outmanned by this St. Pete team. A lot more players on the Green Devils roster than there are for guys in white.
Yeah, and you look at the guys running the ball there with Ben Sams, a tough guy, Malik Wilson, he's got more speed. He can do a lot of things. Rashad Lewis, and you look at what they did in 2008, and you know, the main thing that stood out to me when you talked to Coach Fabrizio was just how confident he felt about the direction of his team, and he's very confident they're going to get in the playoffs, and he feels like, Drew, that he can match up with whoever he plays in the playoffs. I didn't feel like he was just blowing smoke at us. I think he really believes that.
So 1st down from the 28-yard line. David Jones hands it off to Ben Sams again. And Sams gets a couple yards near the 26-yard line before he is pushed back. You know, we've talked about, Mark, the IB program for this St. Pete football team. 17 players are IB kids. That is simply unheard of. That is one smart football team.
And I know you're a smart guy, and you know all about the IBs, and you know, I've heard about the AP courses. These IB, the international program, I mean, these kids really have to do a lot of work. We were talking about 50-page thesis papers. They're up to 2 or 3 in the morning doing their homework. And you know, when you leave as an IB student, you can have as many as 2 years of college already finished, and they've got a number of kids that are in that program.
Let's take a look at some of those numbers when you break it down. This St. Pete football team, not just the IB students, 17 of them, which is really unheard of, but over a 3.0 GPA as a team. 13 players last year signing football scholarships. Joe Fabrizio saying they may not have been at Division I schools, but they are going to play college football. That's huge. And even bigger than that, the fact that 21 of 23 seniors from last year simply went to college. He takes great pride in that.
He does, and when he first talked about that international baccalaureate program, he started thinking, you know, this could be a little distracting for my players, and I don't know if this is going to be a good thing. But he found after they got involved in it and how disciplined and how structured and how organized his players became, it made them very more well-rounded, and it actually turned out to be more of a benefit than it was a concern.
Yeah, when you got 17 kids doing all the right things, the rest of the team just seems to follow. Here's David Jones. Has a man open, looking for the end zone. And it is caught. Touchdown, Green Devils. Rashad Lewis.
A very well-designed play right there. The blocking up front made this play happen. David Jones had a chance to get outside. He wasn't pressured. Not the most gifted of throwing quarterbacks, but he had a chance to set his feet, put the ball in the air, let Rashad Lewis have a chance to run under it and make a very good reception. It was very well covered. He bought a little time there by pausing at the end of this throw. You can watch a quarterback. David Jones sets his feet, puts good air into the ball, and Rashad Lewis on the other end to make the touchdown.
So it's 14-0. St. Pete has taken a 2-touchdown lead, and right now some confusion down on the northeast sideline, and that is where our Dave Reynolds is standing. What's going on down there, Dave?
Yeah, guys, to be honest with you, defensive confusion is what's happening out here. Jay Austin very, very upset about the fact that guys are not filling the places where they should be. You've got some guys playing out of position with Tirana being injured, not sliding over in the slots, the proper slots. You're seeing what's happening out here. A lot of big gains, and just that big play to Lewis for touchdown number 2.
Yeah, and you can see the frustration on the sideline, and it drives a coach mad when you have certain disciplined things that you're supposed to be. What gap? Don't try to do more than you have to do. You're just supposed to try to do your job. And when coaches look out and guys are running all over the field being undisciplined, it makes them want to pull their hair out.
So Devin Papandrew to kick off, and he puts it all the way near the 1-yard line, and it's going to be Copeland on the return. And he is not going to get much up to the 13-yard line. And speaking of smart players, smart football players, got to mention one guy in particular. We talked about Ben Sands, but Devin Papandrew from St. Pete. He is the kicker, and you just take a look at this course load, Mark. Kind of look like your course load in your classes in high school?
Yeah, very much like that, or courses that I didn't even know existed at that point. But they really like him, his ability. They think he's got a great leg. He kicks off the ball well, as we've seen so far tonight. But you look at these SAT scores, and 1480, when I was coming along, I think the top score you could get was 1600. So these kids, it's very impressive to watch what they do on the field, but I'd say even more impressive off the field.
Nice run, 8 yards up to the 20-yard line.
Kickers don't get a lot of love anyway, so I guess you got to get it done in the classroom to be talked about on Bright House Sports Network. But you know, he's a senior, and he feels like he'll be able to go on to college, and he'll obviously be prepared for that because he's doing very well off the field too.
Joe Fabrizio feels he is a Division I prospect. Average starting field position for the opponents, the 22-yard line. So doing a good job booming those kicks.
Yeah, and likely we'll see him maybe at Princeton. That's kind of what he's got his eye set on right now.
Another running play, not going to get much. In fact, this will be a loss. Dominique Ellis stacked up in the backfield. Big 97 there to make the play. Rashid Mizell for St. Pete.
I'll tell you what, St. Pete has come out, and you never know what you're going to see. I not having seen these teams play before, and you hear what the coaches say, and Rashid Mizell there and what he's done on the season. But they've come out very well offensively and defensively. They've taken their first 2 drives offensively, gotten it in the end zone, and the defense goes out, and they're creating this field position to put them in great field position again for their 3rd offensive series.
So it's 3rd down, 11 yards to go. Pettigo trying to get a 1st down, only the 2nd one of the game for the Vikings, and it's also incomplete. And a good hit delivered by Cody Pogerelf down there, who laid the boom down on the guy who would have been the ball carrier. Dave Reynolds is down on the field, and Dave, what's going on down there? Mark and I have kind of talked about Pete Tirana. Any chance we see him tonight?
No, absolutely none, guys. By the way, I just spoke to him a second ago. He kind of re-injured that ankle that he's at, that high ankle sprain that just kind of injuries, as Mark and you know, both don't go away. He injured it last week, and he says he tried to go this week a little bit. He can't even run on it, didn't practice at all. Just going to sit this one out. And, of course, Tirana got some bigger issues later on down the road, playing in Western Michigan next season. So right now, just a little reason for caution, of course.
Well, here's the punt. Andre Davis going to have some great field position to work with. Davis makes a cut, and look out. Davis. Did he step out of bounds? No. Referees are ruling it a touchdown.
I'll tell you what, we talked about this kid in the open and talked about that how dynamic he was when he gets the ball in his hands. And then first of all, as a punt returner, you've got to get it. He looks the ball in, and that initial move, this is shiftiness in the way he cuts and makes the angles. And watch the toughness down the sideline. Could have easily been out of bounds there, but he has the wherewithal to maintain his balance and body control to get down the sideline and get that punt return in for the touchdown.
There is a flag. And this one's going to come back. So wipe the 6 points off the scoreboard, and you see Davis just kind of saying, oh, man, that was one for the highlight reel, guys.
Yeah, I think he might hang on to that one anyway, even though it didn't count. But just an explosive guy, and you know, the speed, and you look at a guy's instincts, and he's really got them. He sets up his blocks well.
On the return, first down.
You move a kid around like that. I mean, a 4'4", 4'5" guy. The only thing that really hurts him from going to a D1 school is obviously his size. He's a 5'6" and 165 pounds, and that's probably soaking wet. But they really think that he's got a lot of talent and has a bright future wherever he ends up going to school.
Driving forward is Malik Wilson. He has it to the 30-yard line. 8 more yards for this St. Pete offense, and we invite you to join us for your live nightly pregame show covering your sports teams with a focus on high school sports. Monday to Friday, 6 to 6:30. The Lineup, the only show in the Tampa and Orlando markets dedicated to high school sports with over 8 minutes of coverage each and every night. That's The Lineup, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock, only on Bright House Sports Network. Another big run for the Green Devils, and Rashad Lewis has it all the way to the 5.
I'll tell you what, this offense is looking pretty impressive here early in the football game. And you look at just a simple handoff up the middle. Rashad Lewis cuts it back up the middle. It's intended to go outside, and you just look at the speed and the blocking up front. And right now, that St. Pete offense clicking on all cylinders. These running backs, very impressive.
So far, the St. Pete Green Devils have been like a buzzsaw, just going through everything in sight. 14-0. Your score at the end of the first quarter. We've played one on the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week. St. Pete hosting Northeast. Green Devils with a 14-0 lead. Drew Felios, Mark Royals, and Dave Reynolds. And we'd like to wish a get well to another member of our Bright House Sports Network family, our own Brooke Bennett, involved in a car accident last night. She is okay, spending some time in the hospital tonight, watching right now on her television set from her hospital room. We all just want to say, Brooke, our hearts and prayers are with you. We hope you get well, and we're going to miss you for as long as you're gone here at Bright House Sports Network.
Yeah, it's always bad news when there's some sort of accident. The good news is that she is going to be okay. She's resting comfortably in the hospital, and we wish you well and hope to see you back on air very soon.
Absolutely. She has been an impact player since joining our staff at the beginning of the year. St. Pete back to work. Ben Sams, and did he get to the end zone? Yes, touchdown, Green Devils.
And that's a guy you're probably going to see get the ball for the tough yards. Ben Sams is a downhill runner, very tough up the middle between the tackles, and just a couple of yards to get that in the end zone. And again, this St. Pete offense just pouring it on early in the football game. You take a look at the replay, just a simple handoff, good blocking up front. You see the receivers there getting in the mix, and just with a couple yards to go there, they punch it in, and with a chance here to go up 21-0 early, and very, very impressive start to the football game.
Papandrew 3 for 3 on extra points, and St. Pete has a 3-touchdown lead. Well, this rivalry, Mark, we've mentioned how much it means to each school. St. Pete has really seen a football resurgence from the beginning of the turn of the century up until now. From 02 to 07, this program struggled. They really weren't even known as a football school, and many people wondered if St. Pete was ever going to be a good football program again. Joe Fabrizio has answered all of those questions.
He certainly has. As you look over the last couple of years, I mean, that's an impressive winning percentage. 15-4, and you can see the turnaround and how they score, and they give up less points. But it's one thing to say that you're going to turn a program around and how you're going to do it. It's another thing to come in here and have your kids buy into what you're trying to preach to them. And he's done a very good job of creating discipline, and he's got all his kids are involved in all these other things, the IB program that we talked about, and very organized, and he's making the most of the athletes that he has.
So from the 15, Northeast on the return, Tavares Dunlap gets up to the 30, and right now the Vikings just have to get something going. Their offense different than anything we've ever seen. We've seen some throwback offenses. We saw a couple weeks ago with that East Bay Riverview game, but Jay Austin in this Northeast attack is much different, Mark, much more bunched up. And sometimes you really don't know who has the football. It was an offense, though, that was a juggernaut during the 90s when his father was the head coach.
It was, and they were very productive when his dad was here. And, you know, I think he's got a lot of good things going on here, but it's a very one-dimensional type offense. You're going to run the ball, and if you can stop that run, I mean, the passing game is not their strength.
Pedigo downfield, and he put it right where it needed to be, but Ansoir Wright could not come up with it, and that is a play you got to make if you're going to challenge this Green Devils team.
You really do, and Jay Austin said this week, when they throw the ball, it's not going to be that often, but when they do, in this type of offense, you should be 6 for 8 for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. So right now, being down 21-0, you may see a little more passing than you typically would, but not an offense built to come back from a 21-point deficit.
Second down. Pedigo rolling out again, unloads to the open guy, and it's a good play. Dominic Ellis has a first down as number 33 gets 11 yards, move the chains.
Yeah, they're looking for anything for a spark, just a simple rollout here. Pedigo just dumps it over the defender. Number 33 there, Dominic Ellis, gets the ball up the field for a first down, which have been few and far between. And, you know, sometimes you have to do what you don't intend to do. If you can't run it, you've got to figure out a way to move the football. And that's the only way you're going to get that defense to back off that line of scrimmage. If you're one-dimensional and you're trying to run it, you can't do that. You've got to move it through the air. So a good first down there by Northeast.
Ellis offers quite a punch for these Vikings. Here he is now, rolling out again. Pedigo has it picked off at the 35. A great play made by Jamon Myrick. The linebacker read that all the way.
Yeah, Jamon Myrick, you look at his numbers for the year. We talked to him during the week, and it's a guy that he kind of marches to his own drummer there. He's just kind of a different kid, but a very good play there. You see, he jumps at the last minute to make the interception. And a guy that they like, even though they say he's kind of a little different and marches to his own drummer, still a very productive player, gets himself in position to make plays, and a very good one there.
Yeah, you say marches to his own beat. Literally, his teammates say they see him kind of in the halls with the headset on, kind of doing his own thing. St. Pete continuing to run hard up to midfield. A nice run by Malik Wilson, and Mark.
That's the beauty of high school sports or sports at any level. You look at an NFL locker room in my days, there's so many different personalities within that locker room. But when you step on the football field, Drew, it's all about trying to find a way to put together a game to win. And there's so many lessons to be learned, but you need characters like that. It kind of makes it fun.
It really does. And Joe Fabrizio having a lot of fun with this team. Continues to rave about how they conduct themselves. As the handoff is going to be Wilson again, up to the 41-yard line. He'll pick up 9 more yards, and we'll send it down to our Dave Reynolds.
Yeah, Mark Royals a second ago was talking about guys running hard. Well, Ben Sams is a guy who studies hard. Check this out. One of those IB kids we've been talking about all night long, 4.4 GPA. Here's some of the list of schools that are interested. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton. That's just as far as academics goes. As far as his football, he might be a South Carolina type guy because Wofford, Furman, the Citadel, those are the kind of schools that he's interested in playing for. But one of those kids that just does everything right. 4.4 GPA. You want to add that up for me, guys?
It was a 4.0 when I was coming along. I didn't know that even went to 4.4. But when you hear Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, I mean, enough said right there.
Yeah, 4.4 matching his number, 44. Another first down run for Ben Sams. And you know, Sams last year, when we saw him compete against Robinson High School, he was tearing it up. Nearly a 1,000-yard rusher last year, Mark. This year, his stats not nearly impressive as they were in 2008, but you don't hear one complaint. He's not begging for the football more, although that's what a lot of players want. It is all about the team.
Yeah, when the coaches talk about being the real deal, that's what they're talking about. Not only is he a good football player, he accepts his role. He's willing to block when he doesn't have the ball. He's willing to spread the wealth. They all know they're very unselfish, that the better everyone does, the better the team does. That's a hard concept to get for a lot of young kids because you want to be the star. You want to be the D1 prospect. You want everybody to focus their attention on you. You want to see your name in the paper. So when you see these young kids accepting their role like that and spreading the wealth, so to speak, it's very impressive from young people.
Rashad Lewis on that last run, and we'll take a look at some of the scores from last night in just a moment. there you go. Sickles beats Alonzo last night. Boy, this Sickles Griffins team just so much improved. That's in your neighborhood, Mark.
Surprising Sickles, yeah, and no surprise there with Armwood over Gaither, ranked number 4 in the country, still playing extremely well.
Malik Wilson running well. Touchdown, Green Devils.
Again, Malik Wilson there, number 8. He's the downhill runner, but he's very shifty, and we talk about his ability to cut back against the grain and make people miss. Just kind of a misdirection play. He takes it to the outside. He's got the vision to let his blockers get in front of him. You see a guy trying to drag him down by his jersey. He's got the strength to get the ball in the end zone, enough speed for another touchdown, and just a very impressive opening half. We've seen a lot of good football teams this year, Drew, including Lakeland and some others. And Coach Joe Fabrizio said he feels like he can stack up with any of them. I'm starting to become a believer.
Another extra point for Papandrew, 28-0. And Malik Wilson came into tonight with impressive stats, over 8 yards a carry, 9 touchdowns, and he has padded those so far.
Yeah, and they talked about the versatility that he had and how elusive he has, and not the just tremendous speed, but enough speed to do a lot of good things. And the ability to run through the defenders, you can see right there how he's got people dragging him in his jersey, and he's running people over, and he's cutting back and shifty. Seems to be a very complete back.
Doesn't have the best speed in Pinellas County that you're going to see, but you saw just when he has the football in his hands, he knows exactly where he is on the field. He's got that running back awareness that Fabrizio raved about.
Yeah, and he's a guy that wants to be, he said he had the little league mentality, and that's the guy that wants the ball all the time. And you know what? I want my running backs and my receivers, I want them all to want the ball, but I also want them to work within the confines of a team, and that's what these guys do. Give me the ball, I'm going to do the best I can, but if I don't have it, I'm going to be the best blocker I can.
So the kickoff. Ball dropped at the 10-yard line. And Northeast just trying to get something going as they get it up across the 20. And we'll take a look at our Bright House Sports Network media poll. The Lakeland Dreadnoughts impressing everybody last week with that win over Osceola. Manatee, though, also undefeated. Plant, Armwood, Tampa Bay Tech in the top 5. Kathleen, Jefferson, Tampa Catholic. Question is, how good is Tampa Catholic? That's a ball club that plays football in Class 2B. Can they stack up against the Hillsboroughs and the Largos and the Kathleens? That remains to be seen.
It does remain to be seen. I think that's going to be a tough call for them to stack up against some of those programs. But you look at St. Pete, they're coming in at number 11. And what I've seen out of them tonight, not only offensively, they came out very strong. They've got a lot of talent offensively, but their defense, now is it a case of how good is St. Pete or how poor is Northeast playing tonight? So you kind of have to factor all that in.
On the defense, first down.
But right now, to me, at number 11, St. Pete seems to be a team to watch.
A strong number 11, they are. Well, there's Stevie Murph, the player we talked about who played offense last year, now moved to defense. Another guy maybe not in his ideal role, but doing what is best for the team, and that is why this St. Pete program has been so successful. As Eli Pettigo still trying to get something going. This Northeast offense has not gotten past midfield. And the running play stopped once again. Just tough sledding tonight for these Northeast running backs.
It really is, and they're a team that's based on the run, and they want to try to establish that early so they can have some opportunities, if you will, that throw the ball down the field, and that's kind of how they set things up. And tonight, just not being able to move the ball at all, and you're forcing your quarterback and Eli Pettigo to get outside and do some things. You can see he's just a little awkward in how he moves, not the smoothest quarterback. He throws the ball okay, but when it's on his shoulders to have to move the ball through the air, so far tonight he's not been able to do so.
Pettigo under pressure, and he'll go down as Dominic James there to get the sack. A flag does go down.
Looks like he might get a hold on top of that, which I would guess they would take the sack and probably deny that penalty. Okay, going the other way, so they'll pick up a few yards there, but that's what happens when you're not able to run the ball and you've got to throw it. Then the defense is going to pin their ears back and they're going to come after you. See if we can find the face mask here. Yeah, it looks like a kind of inadvertent deal there. The official's right on the spot. The defender there, number 97, Rashid Mizell was able to let go of it, and the official caught it. But you can't be one-dimensional, especially when you have a defense playing like St. Pete is, because if you're going to drop back and try to pass the ball now, they're going to come and get you.
But Pedigo and this Northeast offense will take it. First down and 10 from the 35. He'll come to his right. And now he'll take off and run. Pedigo trying to make something happen, pays for it at the 44-yard line, but has it close to another first down, and we will take a look at our next game of the week. We're headed to Polk County as the Kathleen Red Devils take on the Lake Gibson Braves. And breaking news yesterday, Mark Royals, Kathleen undefeated so far this football season. Turns out they were using an ineligible player for the first 6 weeks of the year. They have to forfeit all of those games, and now Kathleen, unfortunately, going to miss the postseason because their district record, no matter what, not going to be good enough. But Kathleen still with the chance to play football against Lake Gibson and get a big win next week on the Game of the Week.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation when you're playing as well as they have been, and you have a player that's ineligible. But you know, you have to be on top of those things as a coaching staff, as an administration. You have to keep an eye on those things. And you know, we've talked about some of the things that go on within the confines of high school football as we check on the penalty.
Third down.
I mean, there's no secret that recruiting is happening, and you would certainly like to see that go away, or at least have a story come out and kind of put it in the perspective of what's going on. But very unfortunate for Kathleen that they're going to have to forfeit those games.
Yeah, tough break. Third down and 14. Pedigo under pressure, gets it away, and it is right into the arms of Stevie Murph. And Murph off to the races, near the end zone, and it is a touchdown.
Great play by number 34, Stevie Murph, and you can thank the defensive line there for applying the pressure to Eli Pedigo. He's not able to get his feet set. You see he rolls out. The pressure comes from the corner, a corner blitz. He throws the ball up. Ill-advised pass. You certainly would like to just throw that one away or take the sack, and he threw it up for grabs there. Stevie Murph on the reception, getting it down the sideline for the touchdown.
So Stevie Murph makes his biggest play of the season.
And you look at Pedigo on the sideline there, and he knows he shouldn't have thrown that ball. He's trying to make a play. It's a kid trying to get his team back in the game, trying to make something happen, but the pressure got to him. He threw one up for grabs, and St. P there to cash in.
Extra point is no good. First miss on an extra point tonight for Papandrew, who has been busy because his team is scoring so much. Well, you notice St. Pete wearing the all-black tonight, and right in the middle of the blackout where the Green Devils are. Dave Reynolds, what are you up to?
Obviously, I wore the wrong thing here. I should have gone black. I had no idea. Yeah, obviously. But yeah, blackout all over school. You can see everyone's got black on. The girls have black on. The guys have black on. They've got face paint. And you know what? So far, that show of loyalty and support is working. Even the teachers out here, guys, wore black to school. So truly a team effort for St. Pete.
Tell you what, they're getting excited about what's going on here with St. Pete football again. And again, when we talked about the rivalry, Joe Fabrizio said, we're going to have a blackout. This is a rivalry. We're really into this. This is a game we want to win. And, you know, they got the support of the student body and everybody having a good time so far tonight.
Well, it's going to be fielded by Alfonso Jenkins. And he's tackled at the 24-yard line. It has been a tough first half for these Northeast Vikings, and you know, it's a team that this year has had to kind of make some adjustments with their roster, kind of weed some people out. Jay Austin kind of still getting a feel for who is best in certain positions, throw in some key injuries that his father, Jerry Austin, talked about with his Vikings team, and it has been a long year. Still respectable when you look at their record, Mark. Northeast doing some great things this season, but tonight you just get a sense that this St. Pete team is not going to be denied.
Yeah, a 3-4 team. They look like they're a lot worse tonight based on how St. Pete is playing. But you're right, Jay Austin talk about some of the players that he's had to do some things with and shift around. And again, nobody really stood out on their roster when we talked. You know, the splash players that you hear about. He felt like that they've played very well in spurts. They just haven't been able to play consistently. They come out slow tonight against a very hot St. Pete team, and you know, he still feels like there's some work to be done, and you know, obviously very frustrated about the way tonight has gone.
You know, when Jay Austin took over as head coach here at Northeast for his father, he was going to bring in a lot of stuff that he learned at the college level, and as he applied it to this Northeast program, he would eventually say this past season, not all of it worked with high school kids. So even though he had that knowledge of the college level coming in, he admits that maybe he tried to do a little bit too much as head coach with this program before. Not all of it works in high school.
Yeah, and when you think about that, you look at your dad and the success that he had, and of course the son, I mean, I live it with my daughter. She doesn't always listen to me. He sort of wants to establish his own identity and do things the way that he wants to do it. And you have to do that. You have to figure out what kind of coach you're going to be. And he readily admits, I'm still learning in my 3rd year as a head coach. So I don't think he quite has it figured out the direction he totally wants to go, but I do think he's starting to lean back and draw on some of the things his dad did.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's one heck of a quarterback for Northeast in the 90s. The Vikings had a great run with Austin as the quarterback. But this is kind of a different day and age when you just look at the gap of those years, 15 years ago up until now. The scope of high school football has just changed so much as Pettigew's pass is incomplete.
It really has. It's changed so much, and this has been my first year to do these games, and I'm learning a lot as we go, and you guys have been great kind of bringing me along. But just the talent level, some of the new schools that are opening in different districts, so some of the teams are not able to have as many players, and the talent pool is watered down a little bit. It's spread out amongst different schools, so you're seeing some of the teams that weren't as good becoming better, and it certainly has changed.
Is that you as a punter in high school? Kind of looks a little bit big for a punter. Kind of looks like a defensive lineman.
Yeah, I was a little heavier than that in college, but yeah, you typically don't see a 290-pound guy back there kicking the ball. I can remember when I was 8, it was always the biggest guy was a punter, but apparently this guy's gonna win by size alone.
Richie Williams, though, doing a good job. Richie Johnson doing a good job running the football for this Northeast team. He trots off the field, and not your prototypical punter, but he is filling in and doing an outstanding job with the position he is dealt. 5:27 left to go in this first half. It's all St. Pete tonight on the Game of the Week. St. Pete High School, the site. Right now, the Green Devils owning their home field, 34-0 over Northeast. Drew Felios, Mark Royals, Dave Reynolds, and after a Richie Williams punt, it is Richie Williams, not Richie Johnson, as I said before. Richie Williams on the punt. St. Pete with the football at the 45.
Yeah, he's a big guy we're talking about, reminiscent of a Reggie Roby back in his day. God rest his soul, he passed a few years ago, but you typically don't see a guy, 270, 280 pounds kicking the ball.
With the carry, Rashad Lewis driving forward for 8 more yards. This St. Pete program really building a winner, and they're going to be good, not just through this year, but next year as well. Look at that, 23 juniors.
Yeah, when you look at the starters there, 12 juniors, they'll be seniors next year, and you certainly want to try to keep some of your younger players on the field to build for future. So if you get senior heavy and they all leave, you don't want to have that drop off. So they're certainly primed to be very good next year as well.
Now, one thing we've seen so far, Mark, every St. Pete play is going forward. Every running play, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. Northeast not able to get much penetration tonight.
Again, when you talk to these coaches prior to the games, you wonder, sometimes they'll downplay things, sometimes you don't know exactly what you're getting. Joe Fabrizio, when he talked about his team, he's been right on point with everything that he said, and very straightforward. And
In the neutral zone.
very straightforward in the things that he said. Again, the one loss that he had, you asked him poignantly what happened in that game. I was very impressed that he made no excuses. He manned up. He talked about they didn't play well enough to win on the other side. I mean, it's a tough night. You're down 34 points, and you're looking for answers. Nothing's working. The other team's running up and down the field. It's certainly a tale of two cities here.
2nd down and 8. Play fake. Oh, what a nice fake by Jones. And he gets it up across midfield to the 47-yard line. David Jones. Pickup of 4 yards. Hey, check out BHSN.com. That's www.bhsn.com. PinellasCountySchools.com, our website here at Bright House Sports Networks, and click on the high school sports link. There you'll find the latest high school news, sports schedules. You can upload your home videos to the web. You can see them on the lineup and on the Toyota Sports Connection, and you can see much, much more. That's on BHSN.com, the new and revamped high school section of the web. It's something else.
We can find you on there too, Drew. I mean, you got fans all over. I noticed it last week in Lakeland, how they you're like a rock star, and they can go to that website and get headshots of you and, bring them to the game, and I'm sure you'd be happy to sign those afterwards.
Well, I guess.
It's tough duty, man, but it's part of being Drew Felios, you know?
You can also read my blog every single day on the website. Special write-up this week on Plant Volleyball and the outstanding run that the Panthers have put together, going for their 4th straight state title.
I will read that because my daughter is definitely into volleyball, so I will check that one out.
Taking off for the Green Devils is Rayshawn Washington, and he is going to be caught short of a first down. So Northeast is going to have their best field position of the game at the 47. And Mark, is a former punter, what went wrong here?
Well, I'll tell you what went right is the snap was bad to begin with, but Rayshawn Washington knows the ball is going to be blocked, so he pulls it down and tries to make something happen out of a bad play, and it was very close to getting a first down there. But a lot of times the long snapper typically doesn't get mentioned until you see something like that, but it all started with that errant snap, and I think a good job there by pulling it down and running with it.
So here's Northeast again on offense. Vikings still only 2 first downs tonight. That's an 8-yard gain up to the 46. Well, we talked about Daryl Copeland and the opening. He has been very quiet. Tavares Dunlap on that carry. These running backs for Northeast just have not been able to really get it going. And Copeland, interesting, does not have a carry so far on the ground. So interesting.
Yeah, and when nothing's working, you keep trying to find answers, and they tried it through the air, and now they're going back to the ground. They've got great field position, but their strength is running the ball. And, we talked about the 3 guys that would probably see most of the carries, and they've just been unable to get anything established there on the ground.
Pitch, and it's Dunlap. Tavares Dunlap turns the corner, lowers his shoulder, and gets it near the 30-yard line. Referee standing at the 34. That's the best run of the game for Tavares Dunlap.
Yeah, and Dunlap's a guy that he hits the holes a little quicker. He's not as powerful as some of the other backs, and he'll be a guy that's back next year. He's got a lot of athletic ability, and it's kind of carried him up to this point. And now his focus is getting him to the line, and so he can carry out his assignments better. He's reading things better. His vision has improved. So a good run there, and they're looking for any answers offensively here to get excited about.
First down. Straight forward. That's Dominic Ellis. 5 more yards. Best drive of the game. Northeast at this point just trying to get some points on the scoreboard and some kind of positive note to head into the locker room at halftime on.
Yeah, it's a good job of creating the problem on the punt there and getting good field position, not allowing the punter to get the first down, and establishing yourself in midfield and trying to get something positive here. You're down 34-0. You're looking for anything, and they're certainly hopeful right now they can get this ball in the end zone.
Here come the Vikings again. That's Jenkins on the carry. And Alfonso Jenkins down near the 20-yard line. We talked about Copeland, and there you see Daryl Copeland on the bench right now and does not look like he is really into this football game. Must be some kind of an injury. He did return a couple kicks, so maybe it happened during his returns. Maybe Dave Reynolds can check in on that later.
Yeah, and you've got numbers like that sitting on the sideline. You certainly would have to think there's some sort of injury keeping him over there, because he's been a productive player for them all year, and they would certainly like to have a guy like that out on the football field.
Dunlap with the carry again. And Tavares Dunlap, described by his coaches as a guy who just kind of likes to have fun. A guy who's always got a smile on his face and sometimes doesn't take football very seriously, but They say his natural ability simply makes up for all of that. A fun kid to be around, but sometimes they say has to be a little bit more serious with what's going on the field.
Yeah, they call him kind of goofy sometimes, a little boisterous. He likes to have fun, and kind of knowing when to say when is what they're saying about him, and maybe taking it a little more serious. But you can see he's got some natural ability on the football field. It's kind of off the field that they get a little concerned about.
Well, coming up at the half, Roxanne Wilder standing by in studio. She'll have all the latest on the day's events. James Wilder, the great Tampa Bay Buccaneer running back. If you haven't heard, his son is one heck of a football player at Plant High School. We'll get up close with the father-son combo. That is coming up at the half, and first half highlights and stats. That's all coming up on halftime of the game of the week.
Is he in that district?
Which one?
Plant's district?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. Just checking. You know I'm hot on that story, right there. Yeah, he's quite a football player, and you know when you talk about the apple not falling far from the tree, I mean that's a classic case right there.
Yeah, 2 moving.
Now I see where you're getting at. Does he live in the district? That is to be questioned. I know he is a transfer from Chamberlain High School. There's still, some talk around the area if he should be playing for the Plant Panthers. We'll see. Victoria Lim will talk to him at halftime. Second down, 10 yards to go. And again, it's Dunlap. Forrest Dunlap all the way to the 10-yard line. He's been the best offensive punch this half for the Vikings. 7 carries, 40 yards, most of the offense for the guys in white.
Yeah, they're trying very hard to get something, just about under a minute to go here in the half. If they can get something on the scoreboard here, I mean, they're down by 34 points, but this will give them something to feel good about as they go into halftime.
Dunlap puts his head down, end zone, touchdown Vikings.
Now that's what we thought we'd see more out of this Northeast offense, was a consistent running game, just running off the tackles, and you can see Tavares Dunlap going on the sideline here after scoring the touchdown with limping there, and he came up a little gimpy, but just a simple pitch to him on the outside, good blocking. The receivers, he breaks a couple of tackles, gets in the end zone. You can see he took a shot there on his thigh just before he got in the end zone, but nonetheless, going in right before half with just 46 seconds to go, something to feel good about and hopefully to build on as you come out for the second half.
It's Troy Pruitt on for the extra point. And Pruitt splitting the uprights, Northeast with 7 on the scoreboard. Dunlap, he was a workhorse on that drive. 8 carries tonight, 50 yards, 6.3 a pop. This one for the touchdown.
Yeah, nice pitch. He gets it out on the edge there, and you can see the power as he runs through about 4 defenders there to get into the end zone. And it's been a tough night for them. I give them credit for going out. That first of all, they create the nice field position on the special team side, and then they were able to drive the ball down and get that touchdown right before the half.
Well, Jerry Austin and Jay Austin, a father-son combo that is probably the most talked about in Pinellas County. Jerry was so many great years as the head coach of Northeast, and Jay picking up right where his father left off now in his 3rd season, and that's just one of the many father-son combos from around the Bay Area. You look at Don and Bill and Nate Gerke, the family leading some of the top Orlando programs. When you talk about Apopka, Edgewater, and Evans, then you come over Hillsborough County, Billy and Brian Turner. Billy so many years at Chamberlain, Brian coaching at Sickles. Also got Earl Garcia, him as head coach of the Terriers. Earl Garcia III on his staff, and Jerry and Jay, those two really the household names of Northeast football, and it's great to see the son carry on what the father did for so many years. Just a great story.
And talked to Jerry before the game. We were talking to him a little bit and just like, do you ever get in your son's ear and try to tell him how to do things? He was very quick to say, you know what, Jay's going to find his own way. I had my day, and if he asks me a question, I'm certainly there to bounce things off of, but I'm not going to try to direct him as to how he should be as a head coach.
And Jay Austin recently, I believe, birth of his daughter recently?
Yeah. Congratulations to he and his family, and he was pretty excited about that. You look at him on the sideline there, he's certainly a little bothered by what he's seen in the first half, and even when we spent time with him, a man of few words. He says what's on his mind. He doesn't elaborate about too much and doesn't waste time talking about things that don't seem important to him.
Sams driving forward to the 30, 8 yards as we wind down This first half, if you're just joining us, it has been all St. Pete. The Green Devils offense, defense, and special teams. Dondre Davis, that guy right there, Ben Sams. We've seen electric runs by Malik Wilson. Their quarterback, David Jones, has been outstanding, and the blackout here tonight has really worked to perfection for Joe Fabrizio's St. Pete team, and everybody following suit. You just see the enthusiasm carrying over, Mark, as Dave Reynolds mentioned before, to this entire student body and faculty.
Yeah, they're very excited. They've got a good football team to get excited about, and as we spent some time with them during the week, he talked about all the tweener players that he had. You know, not the big kids at the D1 schools are going crazy over, but he talked about some of the players that were undersized, but they knew what to do, and they did what they were supposed to. And he talked about the team atmosphere that he had, and you know, you wonder about that until you see him play. And he's exactly right. These kids accept their role. They know exactly what they're supposed to do, whether they're the best kid or, you know, the bottom of the totem pole, whatever. They've accepted their role, and they look very, very good here in the first half.
So they mark it at the 29. Second down, a little more than one. Jones back to throw, and incomplete. He's trying to sling it out to his wide receiver, Marquell Davis. And we invite you to join us for weekend preps. If you were at the football games on Friday night, you didn't get a chance to see our broadcast, tune in Saturday morning, 8:30, weekend preps for the game on the Tampa area side, and then for Central Florida, Sunday morning, 8:30. So Saturday and Sunday, 8:30 a.m., weekend preps, only on BHSN.
You know, you can never get enough or...
Well, we mentioned before that there was a blackout here at the stadium. We just got a blackout, literally, as all the power just went out here at St. Pete High School. And I've been doing the game of the week for 5 years, and I've never seen anything like this go down. I believe one time, 4 years ago, we had a lightning strike down in Manatee County. But what we just witnessed, we have never seen, as right now the lights are out. The only lights that are on are the ones here in the press box.
Yeah, this is my first year, and it's certainly surprising to see that. We've got some power up here, and I don't even know if we're on the air or not. Hopefully we are. And we were talking about the blackout and the student body and everything wearing their dark clothing and all, and we didn't know it was going to go literal and go completely dark here.
So it's 34-7, and right now they're trying to get this whole thing sorted out. Both teams have gone to their respective sidelines, and the crowd really well behaved in this situation, waiting for everything to happen. Until then, let's take a break from St. Pete High School. A blackout. We'll be back right after this. Well, a live look at the scene at St. Pete High School. The lights are completely out, and everybody is just kind of standing around waiting for play to be resumed and waiting for the stadium lights to go on. Drew Felios, Mark Royals, Dave Reynolds is down on the field. We'll join him in just a second. But Mark, as I mentioned before we went to break, I've been doing this 5 years, have only one time seen anything quite like this happen. It was down in Manatee County, and when this happens, it's at least a 20-minute delay, because once they get the lights going, it takes a while for those lights to warm up. So we could have a delay. We possibly could have a cancellation of this game if they don't figure out what the problem is.
Yeah, and that's not something that happens all the time, so I'm sure that people don't have much experience as what exactly they should do, but they'll obviously try to get power restored and find out what the problem was and get the lights up and running. And you know, we're at halftime anyway. Maybe take a little bit longer in the dressing room and let all this unfold here, and hopefully we can get this game going here in the second half.
All right, Dave Reynolds is somewhere down on the field trying to get with some of the officials to figure out what exactly is going on. Dave, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, and I have some information, guys. I just spoke with some officials from St. Petersburg High School, and they say roughly about 15 minutes. That's how long it takes for the lights to come back on. And I asked if this had ever happened here before, and it did. The very same thing happened right here about 3 or 4 years ago. Same type situation, a blackout, a very quick pop around the area, and then this type of situation develops. It's kind of interesting. The coaches are both kind of joking around saying it's our fault that we overloaded the power grid and caused this to happen, but of course that is not the case. But anyway, that's the scene down here, guys. I know you can't see me, but you can hear me, and if I have any other updates, I'll shoot them your way.
Well, there's another big game going on in Pinellas County right now. Just to give you an update, Countryside is leading Eastlake in a key Pinellas County game. The score right now, 28-7. John Davis's team out in front of an Eastlake team in another game that was considered the other big game tonight in Pinellas County. Right here, it's been all St. Pete 34-7, Mark. Pure domination.
It really has. From the opening kickoff, they get the ball, they go down and score, and it's been relentless the whole time. Northeast able to get a touchdown right before the half, but all St. Pete here.
Lights, camera, action here at St. Pete High School after a 20-minute delay. We are ready to play some football once again.
Yeah, back at it, 30 seconds to go. I'd fully expect maybe a kneel down here. These kids are a little tight from sitting on the sidelines for 20 minutes. Maybe just get into halftime and get on with it after halftime.
No such thing as kneel downs here as Wilson takes it across for the first down. And Mark, a good job by the St. Pete student body as during the entire intermission they were up having a good time trying to make fun of what was kind of a weird situation there.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're at a game like that and it goes dark, sometimes you can get a little crazy, and it is Halloween and some other things, and credit to the student body, as you mentioned, for, you know, enjoying it, having some fun with it, but not getting out of hand, and, you know, we're back at it again, so just 20 more seconds before the half.
Well, St. Pete's schedule, they're cruising to what will be their 7th win of the year tonight, and then looking ahead, you got Pinellas Park, a key district game next week. If they win that, they are in the postseason. Then you've got Dunedin the final week of the year. Dunedin has been down this year, Mark. We saw them against Largo earlier in the year. One thing about St. Pete's schedule, look at all their teams from top to bottom. They don't have a top 10 caliber team on their schedule. So, although we've been impressed tonight, and without question, Joe Fabrizio's team has really taken it to the next level, but as far as their competition, it's going to be a different story in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When you're not playing the same level competition that you will once you get into the playoffs, although he feels like he can match up with them, if you haven't experienced it and your kids have not experienced that yet, you really don't know how they're going to respond once they start playing teams that are equally as good as them.
Rashawn Lewis getting to the outside. And he goes down with 11 seconds to go. And they'll stop the clock. And St. Pete not content. I'm surprised, Mark. As you said, I figured they would probably go with the kneel down, but exactly the opposite.
I'm very surprised as well, and you know, they're trying to still pour it on here. Everything has gone very well, as you see the sweep to the outside there. Rashad Lewis doing a great job of breaking the tackle, and you've got to credit Northeast here for coming up and making a play with just over 11 seconds to keep him out of the end zone. But again, St. Pete with just under 30 seconds to go after having a 20-minute delay, still trying to pour it on. You know, these kids have sat there for 20 minutes. I fully expected them to kneel down and go in at halftime and regroup, and already having the 34-7 lead, your kids kind of get tight and didn't have a chance to go out and stretch and reacclimate themselves to playing a football game.
Yeah, during the blackout, both teams went to the sidelines and did not do much. There's the numbers on Rashad Lewis. 7 rushes, over 13 yards a rush. He, along with Malik Wilson, a devastating 1-2 punch, throwing Ben Sams. And this St. Pete backfield, I don't think there's a 3-headed monster like that. We saw some good running backs at Tarpon Springs. You were watching that game on TV, Mark. Jeff Carlson was with me on that night, but we saw some good running backs with Adrian Golden and and the guys they had running the football up there. But I'll tell you what, this St. Pete running back attack, when you have 3 running backs like this at the high school level. Very tough team to deal with.
Really, they really are. Ben Sams and Malik Wilson and Rashad Lewis, as we've seen here, I think they view him as the better all-around athlete of the three. He's a little more versatile. He catches the ball well out of the backfield, and they look at him like an Eric Dickerson type runner, and you can see he's got a lot of skills.
And they're all on the field at the same time because of the type of offense that St. Pete runs. Here's Jones scrambling, and his pass is complete at the 15-yard line. Making the catch again is Marquell Davis.
Just with 4 seconds to go here in the half, you make a decision whether you want to try to tack on 3 points and send your field goal kicker out there, and they feel pretty good about their guy, so I think that's what they'll probably do, and send Devin Poppendrew out there to take a chance on a field goal here.
Poppendrew tonight, 4 extra points, and he's been booming those kickoffs. Let's see how he is here on field goals. 4 of 9 on field goals coming into tonight. And this one is up, and it is perfect. So in just 30 seconds, even though St. Pete has an offense where they don't air it out, able to drive down the field and tack on 3.
Yeah, I think you run the ball a couple of times and see what you can get. They were able to break the long run with Rashad Lewis there and put themselves in position to get more points before half. I was kind of surprised that they did, but nonetheless, they tack on 3 more before the half.
Our Dave Reynolds is down on the field with St. Pete head coach Joe Fabrizio.
Well, so much for the kneel down and take it into the locker room, huh?
Well, we were a little bit sloppy on that one series preceding that. I think we needed to sharpen up a little bit and see if we could move the ball, and the kids did a nice job.
Running backs doing a very nice job. No matter who you throw in, the three-headed monster really doing a lot of damage.
Well, that's what we talked about, prior to the game. I have 3 really good backs, and they help each other out blocking and running the football, and you saw it this half so far.
Final question, blackout. How many times have you been involved with that?
I didn't plan that one, and that is the first time we've had that happen. And, I was proud of the way the stands stayed controlled, and our kids did a good job on both sidelines. So it was, it's a mistake, but we lived through it.
All right, Coach, enjoy the second half.
Thanks.
All right, Joe Fabrizio. After all, it is Halloween.
You didn't pull that plug, did you, Dave Reynolds?
No, nothing to do with that whatsoever.
Yeah, Dave wanted some more hits on the sideline. Sometimes you got to do whatever you got to do, Dave.
37-7. You guys are too much. One day before Halloween, call it Halloween Eve, and St. Pete's spooking Northeast right now, 37-7. Well, it's party time here at St. Pete High School. The Green Devils leading 37-7, and an enthusiastic student body on what they're calling senior night. The Green Devils total domination so far of Northeast in a first half full of highlights with the Green Devils. Mark, it was the running game. Rashad Lewis getting it going for St. Pete, and a cast of characters including Ben Sams.
Yeah, Ben Sams, Rashad Lewis. You look at the guys, the way they run the ball, and you see the defensive pressure right here, the errant toss by Eli Pettigrew, and 34 there.
Stevie Murph.
Johnny on the spot with the interception, had a couple of turnovers, and it's been pretty much total domination until the end of the first half there. And Tavares Dunlap gets the ball in the end zone for the lone score for Northeast. And as we go to the stats, and you can just look at it, a couple of turnovers normally will stick out when you look at how a game is unfolding, but the rushing yards there by St. Pete just tremendous at 238 yards, and for the most part they've held that Northeast rushing attack in check, and just total domination by St. Pete.
So 37-7, and one other note, we did have a blackout, a delay of over 20 minutes in the first half when the lights went out. When we come back, the second half on the Game of the Week. The start of the second half, can Northeast get it going in the second half? Right now, the body language not saying much as we get set to begin the second half.
Very well said. We watched them in the end zone there, and as they walk back to their sideline, body language is speaking pretty loud. It looks like a defeated football team, and not only before the start of the second half, but as you look at the scoreboard as well, 37-7 has been very one-sided.
Well, in the meantime, St. Pete just grinding up yardage on the ground. The Green Devils able to control the football and able to turn it over, force those turnovers of the Northeast offense. One leading to a touchdown, and the Vikings not able to get their running back and perhaps best player Daryl Copeland involved in that first half. He did not have a carry.
It'd be interesting to see what's going on with him if he did sustain an injury early, and and you would think that that's probably the case.
Well, he is out there right now on kickoff coverage. There he is, number 22, Daryl Copeland, a guy who we thought coming in was the top running back for these Vikings. Well, let's begin the second half as Northeast will kick off, and it's going to be fielded by Davis. And right now he's across the 35, still keeps those legs going up to the 42-yard line. But you see the motor does not stop from Dondre Davis, and it doesn't stop either with their running backs, the three-headed monster. Boy, they have been a monster tonight. Look at the yards coming in. 81 for Sams, 98 for Wilson, 68 for Rashad Lewis. And tonight, Wilson and Lewis around their averages. Ben Sams with a little bit of work to do, but he has still moved the chains as well.
Yeah, you look at Ben Sams, and then you have Malik Wilson, and then probably the best athlete of the three, and Rashad Lewis picking up the slack there as a third member of the three-headed monster, excuse me. And these guys have been very productive and very unselfish in how they go about their business.
Ben Sams tripped up and pick up of 3 yards, and we mentioned the body language of this Northeast team. Dave Reynolds, what did Jay Austin have to say as the Vikings came out for the second half?
Well, Drew, I asked what the most disappointing thing was in the first half. He said, well, it wasn't so much as we were disappointed, it's just the fact that St. Petersburg is playing extremely well. It's just that offense is just so tough for them to shut down. He was disappointed with the kids in terms of what they were doing. Trying to stop it. They weren't really shifting over the way they wanted to. At halftime, they did a little bit of a defensive lesson and kind of getting guys to go to where they want to go. And here's a guy coming right toward me right now in a big game. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, look out. Rashad Lewis coming right at you.
I didn't know Dave Reynolds had that much skill, how he got out of the way of the running back there. I put a uniform on him. Good job, Dave.
Yeah. You got nimble feet still.
Yeah, Rashad Lewis again off the edge there, and great blocking. You see his vision, his ability to cut back, and all night long he's been taking advantage of his opportunities, both running the ball and receiving it. And you got to give the offensive line a lot of credit. You see some of the backs and the receivers down the field creating some space for him, and he's taking full advantage of it.
Jones, hands off. This time it's Wilson along the left side, and a good takedown. Northeast defensively running towards the football. It's Trez Jones with a good job from that defensive end spot. Trez Jones, we have not seen Pete Tarana, the star defensive end for Northeast tonight, because of an ankle injury. Trez Jones making his presence felt there.
I'll tell you what, Jay Austin, Dave talked to him, and one of the things that's probably disappointing as he watches the way they walk to the sideline, the start of this third quarter, is how his guys will respond to being down so much. And they played poorly, but he doesn't want to see them go out and lay down and quit. He still wants to see some effort out of these guys. So he's going to get a chance to tell a lot about his football team in a situation like this.
Now Rashad Lewis with the carry. Okay, Austin, you can tell it's a work in progress. A lot of on-the-job training still with his team.
It really is. He the first to admit that he's still learning in his third year, and some of the things that he wants to establish, he's been able to. And the weight routine was one of the things he talked about. It needs to improve. His kids have to get stronger. But you can see on the sideline as he gestures for his kids to pinch down that running game, and they're just not getting it done.
Jones throws towards the end zone, and it's incomplete. Malik Wilson was out there. Coverage by Answar Wright. Wilson had a step, but the pass just overthrown. And you mentioned, Mark, that weight program. When you're Northeast and you're running power football and you have a team like this coming at you with the power, a weight program so essential. Jay Austin, he said they've made tremendous progress with that, but that's something that they've got to continue to take to the next level.
Yeah, and when we spoke of Daryl Copeland in the open, that's the one thing he talked about was, maybe not the most talented kid, but he's very strong, and talked about his 450-pound squat, and that's where it all starts, is your foundation. So you've got to spend time in the weight room.
Big hold for Malik Wilson to run through. And Wilson right now down to the 11-yard line. This St. Pete Green Devil offense just grinding up the yards to start this third quarter.
Yeah, and with Malik Wilson there, you see his ability to cut back, and he's fairly elusive for a pretty thick guy. He's a very smooth runner, and really kind of started rolling this year. As you see, is at the 100-yard mark, over 11 yards a carry with the one touchdown, and it took time for him to understand his role, and as he's accepted that and embraced it more, he's become a much more effective player.
Yeah, There is Malik Wilson as the flag comes down. You mentioned, Mark, the fact that it took him a while to embrace that role. He was a star on junior varsity a couple years ago. And then when he got moved up to varsity.
False start on the offense, first down.
He got moved up to varsity last year, very slow to accept his new role. He was the star in Little League and on JV, came up to varsity, didn't really understand what they were trying to get done. But as last year came along, Ben Sams was the primary running back. As the year went along, Wilson became more and more of a factor, and right now he is maybe the man.
Well, and that's what's important about the St. Pete football team is they all have embraced what they're supposed to do. A lot of, like we said, you want your running back to want the football. You want to be the guy, but you also want to accept your role and do things other than that. Block, be unselfish, do the things that help your team win. And all the coaches and the players will say the same thing. They're not worried about stats. The only stat that matters to them is when you look in the win column, how many are in that column.
Good job playing the run by the Vikings. Kyle Hamill right there, number 35. The hat came off, and that is a young man who really does his job. When you talk about playing your role and doing what you're supposed to do for the Vikings, I know we've talked a lot about how the guys have struggled with their assignment, some of them on that white sideline, but Kyle Hamill, not one of those players.
He's certainly not one of them, and speaking with Jay Austin about him, he just plain and simple said the kid's a ball hawk. He's very instinctive. He's just a good football player.
Rashad Lewis takes the pitch and runs straight through the end zone. Touchdown, Green Devils.
I'll tell you what, again, this offensive line doing a tremendous job, but you've got to credit the running backs, Rashad Lewis and company, for their ability to have great vision and instincts. When they see the hole, they know exactly how to cut the ball back. It's just an option. He draws the defenders in, makes the pitch outside, and it's just too easy right there. There's no help on the outside. You want to try to pinch that down. There's no containment, and Rashad Lewis with the easy touchdown. That's a great night right there. You're averaging over 14 yards a carry. It's indicative of where the whole night has gone. They've just run the ball all up and down the field.
So Papandrew kicks it through. Rashad Lewis, perhaps the best natural athlete of those three running backs. Maybe not the best awareness on the field, but as far as a pure athlete, there's your guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a great athlete, and they talked about him. He's just a speed runner. He's a decent receiver as well. They call him a great athlete. You can see he just has the ability to find that hole, and he's elusive enough when he has to cut back. He can make people miss. He's got some strength. So a very, very good night for him. I like the fact that they all are willing to do their role. Sometimes they are the guy with the ball. They have to be the guy, but then there's other times where they're called on to be a good blocker. And as they've accepted those roles by being a good runner to be a complete football player, you have to do all the little things well, and their indications tonight, they're doing it all.
Well, we'd like to thank Joe Fabrizio and this entire staff at St. Pete for feeding our Bright House Sports Network crew tonight. Food provided by Leroy Selman's Barbecue. And boy, did our crew enjoy that in the pregame. There is nothing better than a fed crew. A fed crew is a happy crew.
Yeah, a lot of smiles on the faces of the whole crew, and once we found out where the food was, I think the whole crew made it over there, and I have to admit I was at the top of the line there. So job well done there. We thank you for that.
Once again, thank you to everybody at St. Pete High School, one of the most historic and traditional programs in the entire Bay Area. You look at the schools that have done the best work in the entire area. Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando, Winter Haven. Look at the time that these schools have been around, 1890.
Wow.
That's when my great-grandfather probably played football. Lakeland, St. Pete, Clearwater, that's before football was invented.
No face masks, leather helmets, you name it. And he's got to be very proud of where he's come and the direction he's got his football team going. A very strong night tonight, and you know he'll certainly get a test, because I do think that you'll see this team make it to the playoffs. And we were talking at halftime, is this a team can match up with some of the upper echelon high school football teams? I don't think it's a clear indication tonight. I just don't think Northeast is at this level at this particular time, but they're going to find out what they're made of, because once you get to that next level, Drew, as you know, you've been doing it for 5 years, everything changes.
So 2nd down and 8. Eli Pedigo, sophomore quarterback for Northeast, growing up a lot tonight. Still running that offense, but right now just not having a lot of success as Tavares Dunlap is cut down in the backfield.
Looks like we're going to get a turnover there, and they're calling it a touchdown.
It is a touchdown. Boy, I did not even see the football come out, but I believe it was ripped out of there by Cody Pogarel.
Cody Pogarel in the end zone celebrating, the only guy there. Looking back, and the officials made the call. We'll take a look at the replay and see if indeed the ball did come out, but it appears that they're going to get the touchdown. Just a simple handoff there. You can see a hand goes in. Does the ball come out?
Yes.
The ball is out.
That's a live ball.
A live ball. Cody Pogarel on the recovery for the touchdown.
So Papandreou on to kick the extra point. And St. Pete extends their lead. It is now 51-7. Cody Pogarel with the second defensive touchdown of the game. Let's take one more look at the play and see if we can get a better look at when the football came out. There it is.
The ball is definitely out there. It's just a matter of whether the defender was down when he picked the ball up.
I believe Pogarel was down when that ball came out, and that perhaps a missed call by the officials.
And you can see on the sideline, he's telling his buddies there, I can't believe I got away with that. My knee was down. But anyway, the officials missed it. It goes on the board as a touchdown.
Well, Mark, a special event happening this postseason in high school football, and hopefully it's something that really catches on. Dave Reynolds is down on the field with a lot more about what I'm talking about. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, kind of an interesting deal going on. We've got Dave Redding, the athletic director from Northeast. Bowl games in the Bay Area? High school football bowl games.
Yes, sir. Gentleman over in Lakeland, Gridiron Foundation, Billy Fleming has called us, and he was looking for sponsors, somebody to host the games. So Northeast, we threw our name in right away, and it'd be a good thing for the kids, and seniors get their last chance to play, and so we wanted to be a part of it, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition. Right now they're looking for 8 teams that'll be won't qualify for the districts, but are bowl eligible. So
it's the kind of thing that really might catch on, because sometimes you get to a situation where teams at the end of the season may be starting to gel a little bit and might have lost 3 or 4 games to start. Coaches want an extra flavor, extra taste of what they can do.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of good teams that don't qualify. That third team in a lot of cases, and we have one right here locally. St. Pete, Gibbs, and Pinellas Park. All 3 have had real solid seasons. One of them's not going to qualify. So I understand from Billy that there have been some interest here in the county, and he's talking about getting teams all across Central Florida to come over and play. It should be an exciting day.
It's nice to kind of see the level of football being elevated for that. Maybe a little taste of the college bowl season a bit.
Absolutely, and we're just looking for the 21st of November at Northeast High School for 4 games to be real competitive and a good day of football. And games start at 11, 2, 5, and 8, and we don't know who it's going to be yet, but it's going to be a fun day. So we want everybody to come out and see us.
All right, sounds good, Dave. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the info.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dave Redding, the athletic director at Northeast, and you heard the schedule right there, guys. So mark it down on your calendars. Maybe we'll be here with a second camera or something.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. There are some great teams, Mark, that don't qualify for the playoffs, and a good chance for them to have one more shot at glory.
Yeah, and I tell you what, when you look at a high school kid, when they're thinking about where they want to go to school, a lot of they talk about is teams that they can go to in a college and get into bowl games. So bowl games are very intriguing, and guys want to be a part of it. I think it's a great idea.
Northeast trying to sweep. Let's see, up to the 14-yard line. That's Copeland. The first carry tonight for Darryl Copeland, 5'8", about 190 pounds, senior running back for Northeast. Very quiet tonight because he hasn't touched the football, but finally getting into the offensive flow.
Yeah, Jay Austin talked about him this week and his ability, aside from being undersized at 5'8", and 185, 190 pounds, he talked about how he's really made himself a better football player, and it started by the work he put in the weight room. He talked about his leg strength, and he's really made himself a better player. And I think one thing, when he goes back and talks to his players after this football game, it's 51-7 right now, he's going to be very disappointed in the effort that he's seeing. When you fall behind, you hate to see that the effort drops off too. I know it's a natural tendency to do. You think the game's out of reach, but you still want to see your players playing very hard.
Pettigrew sacked by the player who made the last touchdown for St. Pete. Cody Pogarel now active defensively. 4th down coming up for Northeast, and Pogarel starting to add to his highlight reel.
Trying to do a little fake toss there and get it on the edge, and Cody Pogarel having no parts of it, staying at home and being disciplined. And that's what Jay Austin was talking about earlier, that he was disappointed that his guys weren't keeping their gap control and doing the things that he coaches them to do. Cody Pogarel doing a nice job there of not being tricked and letting the ball get outside of him.
Well, it's Richie Williams on the field to punt it away out of his own end zone. Barely gets it away. And it's taken by Dondre Davis at the 38-yard line. When we come back, St. Pete will have the football. All Green Devils on a Friday night before Halloween on the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week. Well, a blackout at St. Pete High School. And the number 11 Green Devils in our Bright House Sports Network poll tonight dominating Northeast. Only 7 points on the board. That's where we stand, 51-7. About 2 quarters through the third quarter. And here's Wilson, Malik Wilson, cutting back against the grain and into the end zone for a St. Pete touchdown.
Malik Wilson again with a great run and patience. Well, out of your running back, you want to see patience. And as you see, as he gets into the secondary, his first good blocking at the point of attack, he gets on the edge, and watch him wait for his blocker. And he cuts back on it, and then he shifts the ball, which you want to see your running back do, stiff arms, gets in the end zone. Just a great run from a downhill runner, a good cutback. You name it, he's done it all tonight. 137 yards, over 12 yards a carry, getting his second touchdown.
On for the extra point. It's Papandrew kicking it through. And it is 58-7, St. Pete leading Northeast. And Mark, I know it's been a tough night for these Northeast Vikings, but there's several outstanding stories going on that Vikings sideline. We've talked tonight about Pete Tirana, the tight end and defensive end for this Northeast football team. A big write-up in the St. Pete Times over the summer. When Pete was 4 years old, his father, Jerry, had a brain tumor growing in his brain the size of a grapefruit. His father had to have surgery under Dr. Lucy Love from USF at Tampa General Hospital in 1996. His father lost his sight. He had to relearn how to read. His mental capacity was that of an 8-year-old. So his son, only 4 years old at the time, Pete Tirana, said, "Dad, I'll help you learn how to read. I can teach you with flashcards." Pete spending a lot of time with his father, reading to his father, and his father to this day never misses a football game. Little guy's all grown up now, and he is a college football prospect, but truly one of the great stories in high school football this year.
That is a great story, and we talk about these kids all the time and what they do on the field. And when you have a story like that, you certainly want to talk about it. It's such an important lesson. You don't know what life is going to deal you a lot of times, and you try to deal with it the best you could. And what an amazing act of selflessness from a child. You shouldn't have to be faced with things like that. You certainly would like it to be the regular way, father, son, and the kid does it off the field as well with a 3.9 GPA, and a big kid, 6'4", 6'5". He's got a nice frame to grow into. Could end up being a tight end, but it says a lot about the character of that kid and what he did, and we're happy to be able to share some positive stories once in a while, because the negative ones always find their way to the newspaper.
Yeah, we wish we could have seen him play tonight here on the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week, but Pete Tirana, definitely an inspiration to this Northeast program. And when Jay Austin, his coach, talks about him, just simply giddy, just proud to have had a chance to coach that young man.
He really did. And during the school week, you see the kid walking around. He's got a boot on, trying to get that ankle healthy, and he goes out and practices as much as he can. And it's really kind of at the same spot. It's not getting better. It's not getting worse. Maybe he tweaked it a little bit tonight, but he's committed to Western Michigan, and I think he's got a bright future because he's a big kid, and certainly seems very squared away by the story we just shared.
Good job, Pete. Keep up the great work as Daryl Copeland continues to get the football in the second half. And you only have to wonder when you watch Copeland now carry the ball, a pretty nice run there. Why was he not a part of the mix in that first half? Probably, I don't know, maybe serving some kind of a suspension or something like that.
Yeah, you would think it was an injury, but the fact that he's back in there would lead us to believe that maybe there was some sort of disciplinary action going on. He had to sit out a quarter or a half, and now he's in there, and as a coach, you certainly hate to do that with one of your best players, but that's one thing I've liked about the coaches that we've talked to all year is the fact that they take their discipline, and when they tell their kids what they expect of them, if they don't do those things, then there's consequences, and a lot of times it's easy to let the star players go back out and do their thing, and if that was the case, then Jay Austin had to sit him down.
So here's Answar Wright, and Wright just across the first down marker, and you take a look on the track mark, the St. Pete sideline, the cheerleaders starting to do the push-ups, and let me tell you something, that is a lot of push-ups that they've got to do right now if they're trying to match points with push-ups.
Well, we'll give them credit for push-ups, but I'm not sure what exactly some of that stuff is that's going on there, but the fact is that they've got 58 of them to do, and they probably had no idea they were going to get that kind of workout, but I guess they would rather be doing that than being on the sideline doing nothing. So.
And I can only hope Dave Reynolds doesn't go down there and join them, because we may need to have some assistance for you, Dave, right?
Yeah, you know what? I've been counting. 294. I just talked to the head of the cheerleaders, and she was wavering a little bit. I threatened her by saying, I'm going on the air, saying you're not doing your drop correctly. So they decided to drop it and give me 58. Also, some good stuff down here, guys. They also passed out some candy to me as well, so I'm not going to throw them completely under the bus as well.
You'll notice he didn't get rid of that candy. He's hanging on to that pretty tight. We're gonna catch up with him after the game and see if he's willing to share a little bit.
Oh no.
Trick or treat.
All right.
Second down, 11. Here comes Copeland, right side. Copeland surging forward. And he's going to be stopped about 2 yards shy of a first down. And we'll take a look at some scores from around our viewing area. Some big games going on tonight as district championships decided right before our eyes. Pasco over Mitchell. Mitchell was an undefeated team, Mark, but a lot of people would question their schedule up until tonight. They meet a good team in Pasco, and Pasco getting the better of them right now. Countryside over Eastlake by 14, another big game right there.
Yeah, like you said, with this St. Pete team, you wonder what kind of, as you look at Tarpon Springs there with a big lead over Hudson, how they're going to stack up when they start playing a better caliber team. And Sarasota Largo tied it in the fourth there at 14. And I think we'll find out, because I believe they're good enough to get themselves into the playoffs. I'm interested to see how they stack up with some of the better teams.
Yeah, Largo, an interesting team, making that, I guess, drop from 5A to 4A, and we're looking at, Mark, possibly in the first round of the postseason. It's a game that I wish we could see. I believe that same week we're going to be on UCF duty out in Orlando the night before, so we won't be a part of it. That first round playoff game, a possible Largo-Hillsboro matchup, and a great Hillsboro-Pinellas duo right there. That should be a fun game to watch. As surging forward, Answar Wright moving the change. Actually, that's Copeland. Check that, Daryl Copeland with a first down for the Vikings.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and you know, the Bright House viewers will be able to see that game. We won't be on the call, but it will be an interesting matchup, and that's what's beautiful about high school football when you get to the playoffs and some of the teams. We talk about the rankings each week, and the same teams are always talked about. When they start going head-to-head, it makes it very exciting.
So Copeland starting to rack up the carries on this drive. First down and 10. They give it to him again. Makes the cut. Made one guy miss, runs through another tackle, and there you see why the coaching staff so high on Daryl Copeland. Should get more recruiting attention, Mark, as we head into the months of November and December. Jay Austin feels this is a young man who's kind of flying under the radar right now.
Yeah, and the thing that you like about him, he is a little undersized, but you can see right there, we talked about how important the weight room is and the strength about, you can see there, it all comes from that lower body, his ability to break some tackles. And, you know, 185 pounds, he does a good job, as you saw there, of breaking tackles. His legs are always moving, which is his strength. And, you know, he's had a chance to learn from some of the best. You talked about it in the open with Jeff Brinson, Tim Tisdale, and some of the others. Tisdale, excuse me. So they like him, and it's surprising that he didn't play in the first half.
Dominic Ellis, first down Vikings, picking it up with short yardage. Ellis, another guy, big load to bring down, 230 pounds is Dominic Ellis, number 33 right there. And he's another guy who has not been fully healthy for this Northeast team, about 80 to 85% coming into this game. Injuries have absolutely killed the Vikings in 2009.
Yeah, and he struggled with that hamstring all year, but he is definitely a load, and he runs well at 4.7 speed at that 230 pounds.
The Green Devils rolling on 58-7 on the night before Halloween. It's the game of the week on Bright House Sports Network. Well, Northeast and St. Pete, one of many neighborhood rivalries that have been brewing really since 2004 and kind of beyond that. Look at Clearwater and Countryside. When you think Pinellas County big games, that's one of the first to come to mind. Then you got Eastlake, Tarpon Springs. Ever since Eastlake opened, they have been Tarpon's arch rival. Bogosiega, Lakewood, that goes back years and years and years. Only 6.4 miles separates those two schools. Pirates have had the better of that rivalry over the past 6 years. And then you got Dixie Hollins and Gibbs. Some great athletes have come from that rivalry when you think of Sean King playing for Gibbs, Osceola Seminole. Those two teams have not had the most success over the past few years, but still a heated rivalry between the schools. And Northeast St. Pete tonight, it has been all Green Devils. St. Pete separating themselves in Class 5A District 9. And when you watch them play, you almost kind of scratch your head. How did Gibbs beat this St. Pete team? I know Gibbs has great athletes, but St. Pete's such a balanced team. It must have really been an off night for the Green Devils.
And I think it was based on turnovers. They turned the ball over 4 consecutive plays, and you're not going to win a lot of games if it's a close contest. And the rivalry, Jay Austin said, it used to be huge. Like when his dad used to coach, the stadium be packed from sideline to sideline. He feels like more it's a proximity rivalry now than anything else. And maybe Lakewood and Gibbs are just as big as rivals. And Joe Fabrizio, on the other hand, he says it's huge. The first question that he was asked by Dr. Jansen, the principal, was, can we beat Northwest? So they still view it a little differently, but if it's a rivalry, then St. Pete certainly with the upper hand.
Pettigrew hands off and then turns around to block. Copeland running the football, and as you watch Pettigrew hand that football off and turn around and block, that is one of the things that you have to do when you play quarterback at Northeast. It's not just about dropping back and throwing the football. You have better be able to turn around and throw a block and open a path for your running back.
Yeah, the quarterback has to be a blocker. You have to be able to throw the ball accurately when you throw the deep ball. That's what they expect. We talked about in this particular offense, your numbers should be gaudy, 6 or 8 attempts, and you should have a couple hundred yards passing and 3 touchdowns, and you've got to be able to get the ball quickly out of your hands and deliver it on time.
Pettigrew pitches. Going to be tough sledding from here. First guy to get to the football is Ryan Maccabee, linebacker, and just a freshman for this St. Pete team. The freshman, 9th grader, getting in the game and making it happen. Well, we mentioned all the great running backs of the past. Want to give a shout out to former Northeast running back Jeff Brinson. He is still at Iowa playing for Coach Kirk Ferentz and those Iowa Hawkeyes. But a tough break, Mark, having surgery to remove bone spurs in his ankle. 8 practices into this fall, blew out his ankle in the first scrimmage at Iowa. And that's a guy they're really waiting to get into the football game, waiting for his chance, but just has not been able to stay healthy up there in Iowa.
Yeah, you see that happen a lot of times, unfortunately, when kids go away to college and they're expected to be the guy, and injuries are a part of this game, and it's unfortunate when it happens. You just hope that he's able to recover from that and get an opportunity to really excel up there. They certainly had high hopes for him, and if he can get himself healthy, then you never know how things will turn out, but right now having some struggles with those injury problems.
Dominique Ellis, one of the running backs in the football game right now. Copeland right next to him, and it's Ellis on the carry. Dominique Ellis surging forward, and let's see if he can get in. And yes, touchdown Vikings. Dominique Ellis makes it happen.
Yeah, not a lot to be excited about tonight, but give them credit for putting together a drive there and going down and getting a touchdown. Dominique Ellis and that offensive line, just a simple handoff up the middle, and everybody's just driving their legs and pushing forward with enough momentum to get them in the end zone. Certainly not anything to get too excited about. The thing that I like is the kids didn't quit, and they were able to put a drive together here late in the fourth. I mean, it's 58 to 13, and a lot of times you just want this game over. So I give them credit for still fighting hard to get that ball in the end zone.
Well, Troy Pruitt comes on for the extra point, splits the uprights. A flag is down on the play. So the Vikings continuing to play in a good sign for them. Their best drive of the game, resulting in a touchdown.
It'll be assessed on the kickoff.
So when we come back, St. Pete will have the football. Northeast with their second touchdown of the game. Still all Green Devils tonight on the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week. St. Pete and Northeast from Stewart Field in St. Pete, 58-14 your score. Northeast with an emotional lift there, getting a touchdown from their running back. It was Dominic Ellis surging forward into the end zone. Joe Fabrizio and his team trying to just get out of here without any injuries. And Coach Fabrizio actually getting with our Dave Reynolds just a few minutes ago, talking more about that IB program. Dave, what'd he say?
Yeah, kind of an interesting thing, guys. He was mentioning the fact that these are really the leaders on the team. He looks to the kids that really know more than anything. He says, well, basically know more than I do. And it's kind of interesting that you normally look to your best players, but he really looks to these kids to kind of get the other guys in line, really not just be the coaches on the field, but really just kind of tell kids how to live their life the right way. And not only are they smart, they also have to do 120 hours of community service. So that tacked down with all those college level courses that they're taking, he's developing a lot of well-rounded individuals, and he says that without question, the IB kids show the rest of the kids the way how to do it.
Well, St. Pete has a new quarterback. It's Corey Schnurr. And Schnurr hands off, and got to mention Corey Schnurr, Mark, number 14. This young man right here at quarterback was supposed to be, a lot of people thought, the quarterback coming into his senior year, but handed the reins to David Jones, just a sophomore on this Green Devils roster. And Corey Schnurr, you know, he could have bickered, he could have maybe not been so kind to Jones as he took over, but he has been helping out David Jones, and he's been doing some holding also on extra points, accepting his role, and really just being the ultimate team player.
And that's part of what it is to be a team, that everybody accepts their role, and sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to, and then you hope that your kids will respond in the proper way, and he certainly has done that. And ultimately, it's going to help the football team become better when you have kids that are willing to do that. And he certainly accepted his role and done a nice job.
How many times does that happen on a college team or a pro team where a guy gets sent from first string to second string, and then those guys just go in the tank, and it creates some animosity within the football team inside the locker room?
And it does, and that's why you see a lot of times colleges where you see players transfer year after year after year. Those are kids that are not willing to accept their role, and they end up going to another place. Now, I don't know the story with Robert Marv. He goes down to the University of Miami, and now he's circulating all over. He has the injury, and who knows what his future is going to be. Sometimes the grass looks greener other places, but I think you see it show up a lot of time in how quickly kids are willing to transfer.
Well, we invite you to join us every Friday night, 7 o'clock, for the high school scoreboard. Joe Gervin gets you ready for the game of the week, as we've got the scoop from beat writers all over the Bay Area, from the St. Pete Times, the Bradenton Herald, the Ledger, Lakeland Ledger, and Polk County, the high school scoreboard, your pregame show for the game of the week every Friday at 7 o'clock. Mark, those are some great points, and I know you've witnessed that firsthand playing college and pro football more than probably anybody else.
I'll tell you, it's really tough because you initially will go to a program and you think you found the right spot, and sometimes it doesn't work out, whether you have a clash of personalities with players, maybe with coaches. You don't like how things are going. You feel like you're not being utilized maybe the way that you think you should, and then you become disgruntled. If you stay with the football team, you can become a disruptive force, and a lot of players just feel like, well, I'll just transfer out, and it's accountability a lot of times.
It's me first, basically.
It really is what it comes down to, and that's unfortunate, but those are the kind of kids that coaches know that they don't want on their football team, and you've just got to figure it out and be the best player that you can and accept your role wherever you are.
Well, new quarterback for the Green Devils is Keegan Oberholzer. So Schnurr plays a couple plays, goes out, and makes way for another sophomore, number 11, Keegan Oberholzer, as Joe Fabrizio getting everybody some time here in what they call junk time.
at the end of a game.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're a team that's playing as well as they are, and they've obviously had a great game tonight, and you're thinking about what's going to happen on into the playoffs, it's valuable to have some of your young guys get a chance to play some football right now, because you don't know once you get to the playoffs, if you do, and you start getting some key injuries, you want your guys to be seasoned enough to be able to come in and hopefully help your team not miss a beat and carry on like they have been.
A good play made by the Vikings in the backfield. 3-yard loss, making the stuff. He's played pretty well tonight. Trez Jones, the other defensive end, who usually plays along Pete Tirana. You know, this Northeast athletic program, not just football program, when I think Northeast High School over the past 4 years, don't just think about Jay Austin, the football team, but how about the swimming program for Northeast? And they sent one of the best swimmers in Pinellas County history to the University of Georgia last year. I'm talking about Megan Romano, and I want to give Megan a shout out tonight. She did outstanding against the Florida Gators in a swim meet. Everybody was screaming tonight at the meet. Won the 100 free, first place. Megan Romano, a young lady we covered an awful lot, Mark, over the last 4 years on Bright House Sports Network.
Well, I think that's one thing that Bright House has made the effort to do, and they're doing a good job of not only bringing high school sports, which they've done for a very long time, but they're reaching out a little deeper. You mentioned volleyball earlier. You're talking about swimming. Brooke Bennett, and she's part of the Bright House sports team, and she's going to be covering some of those events. I think it's great the way that it's expanding and bringing a lot of sports that typically don't get a lot of attention, and you're bringing it to the forefront.
Megan Romano leading the University of Georgia girls to a win over the Florida Gator girls. Congratulations to Megan Romano. And we want to encourage everybody, again, go to our website, bhsn.com. We want to see your home high school sports videos. We will play them on the Toyota Sports Connection and on the lineup as St. Pete throws it downfield. And a big completion. Number 84 making the grab. It's Eric Gates. And another big play as making that pass was number 14, Corey Schnurr, who is now in the game as St. Pete kind of going in and out with their quarterbacks. Schnurr made that big throw.
Corey Schnurr does a great job right there of tucking that ball on a fake on his hip and rolling out and getting on the edge and then throwing a nice pass against the grain of his body. He's rolling to his left, and he's a right-handed quarterback, but watch the fake. He's got the ball on his hip. He turns and throws on the run against his body, and throws a very nice pass there for a big completion.
So the Green Devils just keep on coming. Doesn't matter who's in the football game. Joe Fabrizio, now I mentioned it was junk time before. Really no such thing as junk time when you have a roster as deep as St. Pete has and so many guys like Corey Schnurr waiting to get in the football game, waiting to throw a touchdown, waiting to make something good happen.
I'll tell you, it's valuable because you never know. Like I said, an injury could occur here or there, and you don't want your season to come to an end because you haven't had a chance to get some of your other players in the football game to get some experience. And Corey Schnurr there, I mean, you can see that's something he's practiced before, and to be able to throw it back against your body like that accurately is a very difficult thing to do.
Keegan Oberholzer in the game. Green Devils running the football. With it is Dallas Paletti. Not going to get much. Third down coming up, and now, Mark, time to throw in your 2 cents for Bright House Sports Network Player of the Game. I'm going to make my vote right now, and I am going to say it is going to be.
Can you give it to the three-headed monster? If not, I mean, you could make a case for Malik Wilson. I think Ben Sams has had more of a quiet night, but if you look at what Rashad Lewis has done, you've got to lean toward him. They've been very effective running the football, and I'm very impressed with what he's done tonight.
Yep. Corey Schnurr dumps it off, and it's intercepted. Northeast with a chance at a big play. Just as the Green Devils were driving downfield, it's Javante Brinson end-to-end for the touchdown. How about that?
That's a big play. Javante Brinson there with the big return, and they haven't had a lot to be excited about tonight. As you see, number 14 there, Corey Schnurr with the bad pass, number 25, Javante Brinson getting the ball in his hands, tucking it away, getting down the sideline with enough speed to get it in the touchdown. And again, not a lot to be excited about tonight, but that's one for the highlight reel right there.
Well, Javante Brinson, the younger brother of Jeff Brinson, the legendary Northeast running back with the interception. And good for him in a game like this where not much went right for the Vikings. Brinson, when Northeast could have folded the 10 up and warmed up the buses, makes a big play to score the touchdown. And now Northeast going for 2. And let's see, this is going to be close. No signal yet from our officials. And yes, 2-point conversion good. 58-22, St. Pete's lead trimmed.
Yeah, and you look for something to be positive from this game, and you're not going to win the football game. You're down by a bunch of touchdowns, but the fact is you kept fighting. You got a touchdown late. You get the interception return. So you look for coaching opportunities, coaching points, and that's what Jay Austin will do when he goes back and tells his team, listen, guys, we were outmanned tonight. We had an off night, but you guys kept fighting, and this is hopefully something they can build on for next week.
Well, Brinson's older brother, Jeff Brinson, the great running back at Northeast, just had some ungodly numbers. Look at that, almost 2,000 yards back in 2007. Wow. Really tore it up. 24 touchdowns, signed with the University of Iowa. Jarez Wynn then picked it right up where he left off. Talked about Tim Tisdale. He also made it happen on defense. Just a great player. And now you've got Copeland, Darryl Copeland. Tonight we didn't see much until the second half, and again, you wonder why he was not in there in the first half. That aside, Copeland still got some football to be played this year, and hopefully he can make it happen and continue to have a good year for the Vikings.
Yeah, and he hopes to continue that trend, and we didn't get a chance to see him much tonight, but the coaches certainly spoke highly of him and his ability, and they feel like that by having an opportunity to watch some of those running backs that you talked about, you can learn an awful lot about your game and how you want to be as a player by watching some of those greats.
Here's the kickoff, going to be taken by Wilson. Malik Wilson done a lot of damage on the ground as a running back tonight. This is the last guy Northeast wants to have the football as he takes it up to midfield. Hey, rights to this telecast of this game on Bright House Sports Network have been granted by Pinellas County, 5A District 9. It is intended solely for the enjoyment of our viewing audience. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of Bright House Sports Network in Pinellas County is strictly prohibited. And we hope you've enjoyed us tonight on the Game of the Week. Mark, what do you plan on being for Halloween tomorrow night?
I'm going to watch my kids. We're going up to Disney at Camp Wilderness, and we're going to trick-or-treat up there a little bit. I'll probably just be a 60s guy or something with some jeans and a T-shirt, but my little one's going to be a princess, and actually my oldest daughter's going to be Tim Tebow. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
So they are going trick-or-treating up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually heading up there after this game is over, and they're already there waiting for me, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be cooking out and doing the s'mores thing around the campfire, and we're going to have a good time.
Good stuff. Final seconds winding down here. St. Pete will walk off the field with a 58-22 win. Not much question who the overpowering team was tonight. The Green Devils get it done, and they win by 36 points. Jay Austin and his Vikings will look forward towards next week, and St. Pete still in the hunt for a 5A District 9 championship. When we come back, Dave Reynolds on the field with our Bright House Sports Network player of the game. Our post-game show is coming up next.
And welcome back to Stewart Field, where St. Petersburg has rolled to a big win tonight, 58-22 over Northeast. By the way, the player of the game is brought to you by Park Auto Mall. When other dealers say no, we always find a way to go. Park Auto Mall, where dreams come true. And our player of the game would happen to be our Rashad Lewis. Had a nice game. 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. First of all, let's start off by talking about the first touchdown, made it 7-0.
The line just was blocking excellent, and my brats, they're just like my brothers, and they opened up the hole for me.
And you had a chance to catch the ball out of the backfield tonight, too, as well.
Yeah, we had ran it early in the game, and I was wide open, so our coach came back to it, and David hit me.
Hey, tell me about the kind of this 3-headed monster running attack we've been talking about all night, you and Ben and Malik. Really, teams just have no way to stop that, as far as you're concerned, I imagine.
Yeah, coming into the game, a lot of people thought Northeast had the hardest running backs, and we took that to the heart. We believe we got the hardest running backs, so we had to prove that tonight.
Tell me about being part of a team with 17 guys in the IB program. From your standpoint, what's that like, and what do they bring to the table?
They they keep it up. They you think they smart, they nerds and stuff, but them some hard-hitting boys. They really tough.
Tell me about the way you guys are playing right now, because you seem to be kind of hitting on all cylinders. Going into the playoffs, it seems like this is a team that not a lot of other teams are going to want to face.
Yeah, last year we made it to the second round. You know, we got lost to Largo. We weren't pretty happy about that. So this year we decided to come back. We're trying to go all the way.
All right, sounds good. By the way, can't let you go, Rashad Lewis, our Bright House Sports Network Player of the Game, gets the official helmet. Looks good in black on the blackout night, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, lights went out. I was kind of scared for a minute.
All right, go enjoy the rest of the win. All right, Rashad Lewis enjoying everything about tonight's victory. And we're going to have more from the field. Drew Felios, Mark Royals with Coach right after this.
Well, St. Pete dominates tonight on the Bright House Sports Network Game of the Week, 58-22. It's all Green Devils on the night before Halloween. Right now, the band entertaining the home crowd. Drew Felios on the field with St. Pete head coach Joe Fabrizio. And coach, offense, defense, special teams, the way your crowd got behind you, could it have gone any better tonight?
No, it was really a good night for us. You know, senior night, we're honoring our kids who are the leaders of our team. Great crowd. We really played a well-played game in all three aspects, except we had a little bit of a bad period there towards the end of the second period that we got straightened out and went down and scored some points. But overall, we're really pleased with what happened tonight.
Coach, you never want to say a game is easy, but watching the game and calling the game, this looked really easy tonight. You guys are really headed in the right direction.
Well, I have a great staff, and they really prepare the kids well, and the kids really buy into what we're saying. And we don't have to sell it anymore. They understand what we're saying is the truth. So it's really become a pretty easy situation for us with the guys that I have working with our kids, and the kids understand what we're talking about.
And still yet to be played. Key game against Pinellas Park next week. Then you got Dunedin on the last game of the year. Pinellas Park, no slouch. They're a team that could have, or they're going to look at next week as a program-defining game if they can get the win against your team. How do you not let that happen?
When you coach 16 and 17-year-old kids, you don't know what you're going to get every Friday night. And, you know, we talk about that, and so you just got to prepare your kids. To us, this is our Super Bowl this week. We win the game, we get ourselves in the playoffs. If we don't win the game, we're out. So, you know, we're going to go at it the same way they're going to go at it. It's going to be a battle next Friday.
Coach, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, and I know you don't as a coach, but when you start thinking about some of the teams that you potentially could face in the playoffs, and I know you kind of give that a little bit of thought, looking at your schedule, maybe you haven't faced some of those teams. And you said earlier in the week that you felt like your team matched up against anybody. I'm a believer. What do you think about that?
You know, Mark, it just comes down to this. We're going to play one game at a time. We're going to finish up the season, hopefully win next week, get ourselves in the playoffs, and whoever we face, you know, we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to win the football game with the kids that we have. I think we match up well with anybody.
I know you don't like to individually point out guys, but was there one guy that you think was exceptional tonight? What was the part of the game that impressed you the most?
Our offensive line, you know, they were pushing people off the ball. I know we had some big runs by Malik and we had some big runs by Rashad, but if you look at the film, it all comes down to those guys up front and what they're doing, and obviously they were doing their job because we got some big yards tonight.
Coach, great show on the field, and thank you for the food before the game also.
Hey, got to keep you guys happy. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Joe Fabrizio, head coach of the St. Pete Green Devils. Thank you so much, Coach. Gets back with his team, and Mark Royals, now you and I will take a look at the highlights, and a lot of them tonight. These are just second half highlights. There's our player of the game racing to the end zone, and it just did not stop for the Green Devils.
Yeah, when you looked at them all night, we talked about all the kids that do things the right way, and Malik Wilson and Rashad Lewis, they were the guys that got the bulk of the carries and did most of the damage. But overall, everybody accepted their role. You even have kids coming off the bench. Some of the kids that you see the big play there by Northwest, not a lot to be excited about, but overall, the team looked very, very impressive.
Big play right there by Javante Brinson, younger brother of Jeff Brinson, and gives Northeast something to kind of hang their hats on and a positive boost towards next week. The Vikings got to swallow this one and try and recover. You look at the stats, St. Pete on the ground, just overpowering tonight.
Overpowering, over 370 yards. On the flip side, Northeast never seemed to really get comfortable. They were obviously overmatched. They never got anything going. And when we talked to Coach Joe Fabrizio about his team, and he said, I think we can match up against anybody in the playoffs. I've not seen them play. Tonight, after watching them, I think you've got to give them a chance. I think they're a very good football team.
You look at the entire football team and the football program. This was a packed stadium tonight. A lot of people don't think of Pinellas County Schools as true football schools. But if you were in this stadium tonight, you probably think otherwise. It was one heck of a show.
Yeah, it was called for a blackout. All the kids came, the students came with their black shirts on, and they supported what was going on. It was senior night, so a lot of people got to be honored. Cheerleaders, everybody had a great night. We had a blackout. Everybody behaved themselves. We got the game going again. It was just just a great atmosphere here tonight, and a very strong performance by St. Pete.
If you're a 5A team, you get to the postseason, and you're a superpower, you got to hope you don't meet these Green Devils in the first round with the different kind of offense and those three devastating running backs that they field. Well, next week on the Game of the Week, our crew travels to Polk County. The Kathleen Red Devils, fresh off having to forfeit 6 games, can still really define their season next week. A win over Lake Gibson, the district champion, would be absolutely huge. Lake Gibson and Kathleen, that is next week on the Game of the Week. Mark Royals, happy Halloween.
Same to you, Drew. Be careful tonight. I hear you going out, so watch yourself.
I'll try and be careful. All right, for Mark Royals, Dave Reynolds, another outstanding job on the sidelines. Chris McCauley, our producer, and our entire staff here at Bright House Sports Network. I'm Drew Felios. The blackout. Successful for the Green Devils. St. Pete rolling tonight 58-22. Have a terrific weekend.